Some of you might like to know a little bit more about our drummer.
Now going back to 40 years of Chick Webb.
Is drummer right? Is it okay to say drummer?
Pounding his pulsing beat into the hearts of all America.
You motherfuckers are fucking all over the joint.
You do your kind of drumming, and I'll do my kind of drumming.
I have no more time. You don't know what I love to do.
The only things I care about in this goddamn life are me and my drums and you.
The official explanation was he choked on vomit.
You suppose maybe I could put the drums in your place and sort of drop in once in a while?
Now back to Gene Krupa's syncopated style shortly.
Get up there behind those drums, lean back, close your eyes, get right in the groove there, give it a good steady beat.
I got blisters on my fingers!
I'd hit that.
Is this thing on?
This thing is on. Okay.
Rolling.
I'm in Hollywood with Gary Novak.
Uh-oh. In a very, very beautiful backyard, I have to say.
Yeah, we're renting it for the day. Maybe you can hear the trickle of the water.
It's pretty nice.
In the background.
I would never leave this yard. I don't know how you leave.
I get that a lot.
You know?
And some people say he doesn't. That's what they would say. You know?
Awesome. Awesome.
This is where you find me.
Yeah, man. No, it's a beautiful area.
Me and Gary were talking a lot before we roll tape. So
yes.
We're already like...
We're kind of in already.
We're warmed up. we did our paradiddles and our, you know... Yeah, exactly. We're ready.
Oh, paradiddles, what are those?
So, man, I mean, where to begin? I mean, let's start here. You were saying you're from Chicago.
Yes.
And you're from this background, both folks, right?
Yeah, both my parents, yeah. My mom actually passed away quite a long time ago in 93, but she was a very gifted piano player and in a acoustic jazz setting. And my dad's still alive. He's 85 and he's retired. He still sounds incredible. I have to say,
he still plays.
No, he still plays. I mean, that's kind of
like a daily thing, or
oh yeah, just the piano. What does he got to do? He watches the Cubs, he watches the White Sox, he watches the Bears, and he plays piano. You know,
sounds like a great life.
He's got a good scene. I have to say, he's got a good scene. He never chose to leave Chicago. My dad in the 70s, you know, was like working for all these kind of like singers at the time. He was playing with Tony Bennett and Peggy Lee of all people, and there was a famous agent out here named Irving Arthur, and he had all the clients, you know, and they kept on pressuring my dad to kind of move out to California, make it easy. My dad was lucky. He bought a house on the north side of Chicago, kind of close to Evanston, like Northwestern, off the lake up there. Decent sized yard, good price, nice neighborhood. You know, and we come out to LA, I remember, and when he was working, and I come out with him as a little kid. We'd go to these friends' houses that were like, you know, considerably more expensive at the time, and he'd had a neighbor right next door. You know, you open up your window and you see your neighbors in those boxers. And my dad couldn't hang with that. He's like, I don't want to know. You know, it's just kind of like he really liked his scene, and he did whatever he could to stay home, you know, in Chicago. When my mom got sick, that changed a little bit. My dad was working with Natalie Cole at the time, doing the Unforgettable tour as the conductor, and it was a brief moment that I could tell, because my mom was terminally ill at that point. He was thinking, maybe I'll sell, maybe I'll move to California, you know. But he came close in 94. But then again, you know, you can't, for how he lives, you'd have to spend like 3 times the money.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't weigh out.
Yeah, you know, he's off the lake. He's got this massive yard. Go run and get it, you know.
But the winters, though, man. Ooh.
Yeah, but my dad, man,
he's tough.
You know, he was in Korea. You can't tell him anything, man. It's nice outside, and it's like 10 degrees below zero.
Cold as a state of mind. Is that guy?
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Guy eats nails for breakfast. I can't tell him anything. But I understand why he didn't leave. You know.
Yeah.
For me, it was a different decision when I decided to come out here. You know, it was an interesting choice because my dad really wanted me to move to New York.
Why? Why New York?
Well, my dad is a real purist. You know, he likes acoustic jazz, and you know, he really thought that was going to be
that was Mecca.
Yeah, exactly. Especially then, you know. I mean, New York's changed a bunch over the last 30 years, but back then it was, you know, serious scene. And there was a guy, I don't know if you knew his name, but his name was Steve Edelson. Yeah. And Steve Edelson was very prominent in the A&R field for the drum industry. You know, he was at Yamaha for a long time. Evans, he was at Pasty for a while. Steve was the original drummer in Name That Tune. I don't know if you remember that show, right? Anyway, Steve's from Chicago, and he used to play in my mom's trio when she was pregnant with me, with Chuck DeMonico, of all people. And so that was my one connection in California, you know. And Steve told me at 18, I remember this, I was going to DePaul University at the time. Steve told me, he's like, you know, you might want to consider coming west rather than going east. And I was like, well, why is that, Steve? And he's all, well, if you're broke, you don't have to have a heater, you know? He's like, you know, you're not buying snow tires. It's a less expensive lifestyle by a long shot. This was in 1988, mind you, than New York was at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, neither of these cities have gotten any less expensive. I wouldn't be able to give that advice at this point in time.
No.
But it's...
but you could probably still say this is cheaper than New York.
Yeah, absolutely. The lifestyle is, you know. I mean, just going into if you live in New Jersey and you work in the city every day, it's going to cost you, you know, $1,200 a month in tunnel fees or whatever it is. It's crazy. Anyway.
Wait, did you ever try New York, though? Or?
I did. I livved there in 1990 for 6 months.
For like a job, though?
Well, obviously, you know Zach.
Yeah.
Danziger. Danziger's an old friend of mine.
Just saw him last night at the Blue Whale.
Oh, I wanted to go to that so bad, man. I was on a sailboat all day, got sunburned, and just couldn't get it in me to drive, man.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
It was a nice day.
That sounds pretty good.
It was a nice day. But anyway, Zach, I met Zach when I was 19. I was playing with Maynard Ferguson, and he was playing at the Blue Note on a Monday night with Ronnie Kuber, the Barry saxophone player, right? And Steve Edelson, of all people, say, hey, you got to meet this kid in New York. He's your age. He's great. And I think you guys would be really good friends, all right? So I just... you know, out of happenstance, he was playing Monday night before we were there for the week. So I came in to see this kid. I think he was 18 at the time. I was 19. And it was unbelievable how good he sounded. And, you know, to me, I was more of a kid coming out of the straight-ahead jazz world, you know, and Zach was the first guy I'd met that was kind of into the more modern style vocabulary, you know, the Gad linear, coming out of Vinny quite a bit, but he had his own thing at that age. It's just kind of like, who is this guy? You know, it kind of threw me for a loop when I saw Zach. I was like, that's what I want to sound like. You know, Zach was a huge influence on me. Yeah, very, very big influence on me to this day. Like, I didn't really know a lot of that vocabulary. You know, had an 18-inch bass drum, and you know, it's kind of a bebopper. But I used to go to the Collective when I'd hang in New York after meeting Zach, and we used to play all the time to set up 2 drum sets. He showed me all kinds of... Zach's lefty, by the way, but he plays right-handed and not open-handed. I'm sure he can, but...
He never told me.
Yeah, he's lefty.
He's a lefty?
I think he's lefty, yeah. Yeah, because his ghost note thing is so strong.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and also Zach's odd number thing was pretty impressive. He had all these odd groupings that just sounded so difficult, but when he broke it down to me and the simple math of it is what he's doing, I kind of understood that, you know, sometimes odd number groupings over an even phrase is kind of an interesting sound, you know. He was the first guy that showed me any of that stuff.
So you just were in a room with him and you're just like, all right, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's like that? Yeah, it was like hanging out with Woody Allen. He's, you know, Zach, he's the funniest guy in the world.
He's better than Woody Allen.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's a comedic genius. I mean, I can't really say enough about him as a friend and as a person, but as a musician, he's a badass drummer, man, and very ahead of everybody. You know, Zach's
the Stanley Kubrick of the drum world.
Yeah, very much so. He's a very heavy musician, but you know, he really did kind of hit me to a lot of the modern way of thinking. You know, and we got to be very close pretty quick. You know, we hit it off, and he came. He came to Los Angeles, and at the time I was playing with this band with Brandon Fields and Walt Fowler, like Mike Miller and Jimmy Johnson, all these guys, and he was playing with Laney Stern and Wayne Krantz and Lincoln Goins. So what we did is we kind of like just switched positions, you know.
Okay.
So that's when I met Wayne, and I used to jam with Wayne and Laney, Billy Drews, all these like.
So this is like
cats.
after 2 drink minimum, like you went.
This is way before that, man. I'm talking about like 1990.
Okay.
You know, this is like when Wayne first came to New York, and the scene was just starting. You know.
So were you trying it there? Were you thinking like maybe I'll live in New York?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about it. I also met some girl that I was kind of hanging out with.
Sure,
you know, that whole
that
story.
always helps move, right?
Exactly. But so I tried it. I went to New York in '90. Zach was helping me out. I was doing a bunch of his connection gigs while he was out here playing with Brandon and all my friends. And You know, Zach's been talking about moving to LA since 1990. I just want to let you know that. So anyway, God bless you, Zach. I love you. So when I was there, it was kind of an eye-opener in terms of like the lifestyle. All right, it was.
Yeah.
I wasn't making a lot of money, and I was on a 5-story walk-up on Avenue C and 10th Street.
Yeah.
Which was Alphabet City, you know.
Yeah.
And back then, when Dinkins was a mayor, it was A was average, B be careful, C you're crazy, and D you're dead, right?
I like that.
So,
I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, Alphabet City, baby. So Avenue C and 10th Street was where I was staying with this super nice girl who I'm still in contact with. She's a nice lady. But it was a pretty sketchy neighborhood, man, back then, you know. And it was all that I could afford. There was no elevator.
Yeah.
You know. And I was struggling to make ends meet. I was doing it, you know, but it was a struggle. And about 6 months in, I got a call from a friend of mine to join George Benson's band, who was out here in Los Angeles at the time. And, you know, it was like a sublet. I could bail that apartment basically whenever I want, you know. Yeah. So I was like, well, that's a good paying job. The whole band, except for 2 guys, lives in Los Angeles, you know. Maybe I'll go back. It wasn't really working out with the girl thing as well as I wanted it to.
Right.
So I was like, you know, this is fun.
Plus you had a taste of here.
I did. And coming from Chicago, the lifestyle, man, is, you know, I was riding around a motorcycle out here with no helmet, like before Gary Busey's disaster. You know what I mean? It was a different life back then.
You still ride?
Nah, you know, I had a scare. And I just kind of was like, you know, man.
It's not worth it, man.
It's not worth it, yeah.
It's the money makers, man. You know? Yeah.
I had a scare, and I walked away from it unscathed. I was very lucky.
And you weren't wearing a helmet when you had a scare?
No, man. No, I was not wearing a helmet. Wow. But it was a dirt bike. I wasn't really. It was like an enduro. It wasn't,
still, though.
Yeah, it was still freaky.
One scare's enough, yeah.
You know, I got into the mountain bike, which has given me...
Because you said before, you're like an old car guy.
Yeah, I love hot rods.
Like you're like, get in there and...
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah?
You gotta watch your fingers. Don't touch anything that's running.
Where did you pick that up, though? Like, your dad?
My dad used to race go-karts. Like, this is some crazy shit, man. My dad used to do, like, 110 on these road courses running chainsaw engines back in the late 60s, early 70s. These guys were seriously man's men, you know, like, just balls out, single gear go-karts, you know, and now they're all shifter carts and they're like little F1 cars and the whole thing. Well, I got into it with my dad and this kid that I grew up with, who I actually had a studio with for a very long time. Long story, but his dad was a racer for Ferrari in the 60s and actually drove at Sebring and stuff, and he had they had a lot of money as kids, and his dad had all these vintage Ferraris and a whole big 5-car garage with a drill press and a machine, and you know, the CNC machine back in the day when it first really came out, when you could do like make your own engine heads and stuff. And he was like a high school friend of mine, you know, so I kind of grew up around, you know, race cars and all this kind of. I don't have guts like Weckl. He's like a really good driver. He goes out to Willow Springs with his vet and races for real.
Yeah,
I've done that with a couple of my old Fords that I've had. I've gone up to the track and just raced in the door slammer class. Can't pass in the turns. Yeah, I don't want to be hitting no guy's 1969 330 Ferrari that's worth more than 10 houses. I don't want to be anywhere near that guy's car.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So it's fun, but I'm more into the golf now. Let's forget about the speed. I don't want to risk my life anymore. I don't got the guts.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my getting into like gearhead stuff. Was my dad's go-kart that we used to steal in high school and take out when he was on the road, getting into so much trouble, man.
It's just interesting because your dad, it's like you don't hear about, like, he was a musician. You don't really find that anymore. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, he's a man's man. Like, I get it. But they don't make them like that.
No, man. They
don't become musicians. You know what I mean?
No. It's like, there's a lot of man buns and loafers without socks these days.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a different era.
They don't go into that.
Yeah.
No.
It's an interesting thing. I'm the last of the Mohicans, maybe, of that kind of scene, but...
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. I mean, Bonzo was a big hot rod guy, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a few guys. I mean,
Simon Phillips, he used to drive. I think
you probably know Nico Bolas, by the way. He was deep.
Yeah, I don't have the guts to actually race, though, man. A couple times I went to the track. It was like I had this old. I actually sold it recently. I still got one car I used to bracket race a little bit, but man, that's scary when you're going 160 in a 1965 fastback Mustang.
Is it shaking?
No, I built that car pretty sweet. You know, the whole sub chassis was, you know,
so you can do
re-welded.
all that shit.
Well, no, I paid guys to do that. I don't want to weld. Yeah, I'm not going to trust my welding. If we're
Hold
going
it.
on.
I paid a guy all
Yeah, the motor stuff, I got a friend of mine that's a really great mechanic, and we'll do that stuff or anything that I can handle. But stuff like welding or chassis, where I'm not your guy.
But do you have old cars?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've bought a bunch, sold a bunch. You know, I just got rid of a Shelby GT350 Hertz that I had for like 20 years. And we were talking earlier after my wife's stroke and her rehabilitation. She's not working anymore. You know, I just took that, sold that car, put it into a little emergency fund. And,
got it.
You know, so, but I still have my 65 coupe that's every bit as wicked.
So wait, just to be clear though, if you had Jay Leno money, would you be Jay Leno, you think?
Absolutely.
You would be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a super fun hobby, and he's a very nice man, by the way.
Yeah?
Every time I played his show, back when he had the Tonight Show, he was so nice to me because he used to see me in Burbank driving around my Mustang all the time. He'd be like, "Oh, you're that guy with that black Shelby."
He knew you from that?
Oh, yeah, man. He'd see me all the time driving from, like, Royaltown, which is a studio that's now called Sphere, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, not so far, basically, from where his shop was. And I drove that Shelby all the time. So he'd always recognize me, you know. Super nice guy. He's like, "Oh, you're playing on the show today. Wow." You know, he'd always give me his spot. I used to get this park in the Rockstar spot.
Was this back when Tane was doing it? Are we talking?
No, this was like Marvin Smitty was on the band at that time. Yeah.
So you were subbing for Smitty?
No, I just like stuff with Alanis or, you know.
You
like,
mean as
a guest, you know, performer on the Tonight Show or whatever. There was a few of those, like Johnny
He would
Resnick.
actually recognize you from.
Oh yeah, that dude who's got the black and gold Mustang that drives around Burbank all the time.
That's fucking.
You know, he's a very nice man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very nice man.
Yeah.
I've done Letterman a few times. He was nice to me, but not nearly as nice as.
Well, no,
Jay
but that's
Leno.
not what we liked about Dave, right?
Yeah. He was incredible.
Dave had an edge, and that's.
God, did he ever?
Yeah.
But that studio, man, he kept the studio. Dave Letterman kept
It was a meat locker.
It was 49 degrees in there, man. I mean, for real.
Yeah. In the winter,
in the winter time, man, it was unbelievable. I've done that show a handful of times, and it was hard to play, you know, because you're sitting there all day.
And this is a guy from Chicago.
Yeah, dude, it was rough.
But
man,
you're like me. I'm
drums.
from New York. I never liked. Did you ever like the winters? Or you always like get me out of here?
And you know, my first experience when I came to California to visit, it was like, wow, people actually live like this. I never knew anything different till I experienced it.
Yeah.
You know, my family didn't go to Florida on Christmas break or anything like that. My dad was always working or doing something. Yeah, you know, we stayed home. And, you know, there's a couple times we took family vacations, but it was always during the summer anyway. So I really never knew what life could be like without 2 feet of snow on the ground. And back in the days, we had to plug in your battery in the garage, you know.
Yeah. But that's the other thing. That there's a car culture here, which probably really suited you.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
you can't get that in Chicago because of the salt.
No,
kills everything.
Oh, man, nothing ages here.
No.
It's incredible. And that goes for studio equipment, too. I mean, if you got a studio in Miami or something, man, your patch bays are always dirty. Every switch is always bad. It's amazing how much weather really ruins equipment. You know, like I did the blues cruise with Joe Bonamassa with a couple friends. This guy Kirky Fletcher and Travis Carlton and Josh Smith. And you know, obviously it's all backline, goes in the boat. You know, but all of his drums and keyboards, everything's exposed. Some stages are outside, some stages are inside. But you're going down to Jamaica and stuff. I swear to God, dude, you can watch rust happen. Like, I played this drum set 2 days ago, and now it's rusting. Like, you can't, it was unbelievable, man. You know, it's rough. But yeah, things out here don't age.
That's the title of your book, Watching Rust Happen.
Watching rust happen.
See?
But no, really, like, the only thing we suffer with in California is rubber. Smog and atmosphere, dry atmosphere rots out rubber rather fast. But metal, man, all my vintage drums, chrome looks perfect. I don't have to oil them or.
Do you have a lot of kits?
You know, I do, but I got rid of a bunch of stuff years and years ago because it just got ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I never play them, and I felt kind of guilty. Gave a couple to churches in Los Angeles and a couple to schools, and I sold off some other vintage drums that I never really played very much that I didn't use, you know. Like, I like the old Radio King stuff, the old Gretsch stuff, and stuff like that's cool, but I had some, like, weird, I had a Vox drum set, you know, all kinds of weird. It was great, but I never played it. It didn't sound as good in the studio as some of the other vintage kits I have. A bunch of that kind of stuff I got rid of. So I think I'm down to, don't know, 10, something like that, 10 or 12.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I scaled it back from 20-something and all this crazy, stupid.
So good.
You know, it's kind of ridiculous. Drummers get ridiculous.
Drummers get ridiculous, yeah. But so, something. You got to put it somewhere, right?
Well, the problem was, for me, I like to keep stuff I'm going to use.
Yeah.
You know, I'm pushing 50, so, like, things are a little bit different in terms of, like, priorities with instruments. You know, it's like, God, I don't need 6 12-inch snare drums anymore. You know, that one's always the winner. If I need, like, a real high drum, I set that thing up, the engineer's like, what's that one?
Yeah.
You know, so maybe these other 4 that I spent tons of dough on 20 years ago or
Plus,
whatever.
like you said, you're going to Europe, you're using backline, right?
Always.
Yeah.
The world's changed, you know. I still have...
What do you just, like, for in town, you bring your kit, right? I mean,
I have
playing the Spud, you're playing the Whale.
Yeah, I always bring my drums, you know. I use Drum Paradise forever. I've been a Drum Paradise client, so I got a bunch of old kits that I use for sessions over there. Mm-hmm. Most of them are vintage Gretsch that I've had forever, you know. But this Broadcaster kit, man, that they made for me is pretty impressive.
Oh, you mean the newer one?
Yeah. I was knocked out. I was not expecting to love that drum set as much as I do, you know. Because for a minute, when I went back to Yamaha, man, they gave me this Phoenix kit, and I was blown away at how nice that drum set was. And, you know, I'll be real with you on this podcast. They made me so angry when they went to China and fired Joe Testa and all the boys over there that I couldn't believe the balls it took to do that.
Was this like the Sakai move and all that?
Yeah. I was really upset with them, man, because the way they handled that situation was extremely ugly. People with brand new kids working their ass off, doing actually well, where Yamaha Drums was actually making a little bit of money. Mm-hmm. They don't make money at Yamaha Drums. You know, they make money with snowmobiles, dirt bikes, lawnmowers. So they have brass to deal with, corporate brass.
Just breaking even?
Barely. Wow. You know, and it's been like that for years and years and years.
Yeah, how are they surviving now with that move? I don't even get it.
I don't even understand it, man. And I'm not going to sit there and tear Yamaha apart because they believe in a quality instrument, but to sit there and have that name be made in China is sacrilegious to me, man. I was like, what are you guys doing?
It is bizarre, though. That is a whole thing that we don't really get into here, because it's like you're making a recording customs, but they're not those shells.
I have the original ones. I played on the first Electric Band record. And that drum set sounds amazing. It's at my buddy Alan Hertz's studio. He loves it. He uses it all the time.
Well, because they work.
They sound really good. You know, that was a really sad time in the scene. You know, I couldn't believe those guys got let go, and I don't know, man. You know, sometimes in my life I look back and I always try to stand up for the little guy, whether that hurts me. You know, I'm not always the most politically correct person.
We like that, though.
You know, but the funny thing, bro, to me with drums is I bought a kit of Gretsch at Pro Drum in 1990 because various artists that were recording, that were my heroes, that were endorsing other equipment, when I first got hip to seeing, all these guys have Gretsch drums in the studio.
Right.
All of them. Yeah. Every single hero of mine used a Gretsch kit in this town when I first got here. Right. So I was like, well, I got to do what those guys are doing.
Picaro didn't use Pearl.
No. Travis Carlton has... his dad, Larry Carlton, has the Gretsch kit that Jeff made Larry buy in the 80s before Larry moved to Nashville, you know? So it's I mean, you know, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But all these guys use those drums. So I went out and I bought a kit that I spent a lot of money on.
At Pro Drum.
At Pro Drum, you know? And subsequently, every Gretsch kit I own, except for this Broadcaster kit that they got me, I bought from Stan and Jerry. I got another like 80s Jasper Shell kit that they sold me. And I found some other drums, random orphan drums that were the same finish, like a walnut nitrocellulose from the 80s. So I have this big drum set that's like, I don't know, 12, 13 conventional, 14, 16, 18 floor tom, 24, 22, all matching from the same era. That drum set has been my mainstay pretty much on any record, any style of music, you know, from anywhere from Rob Zombie to, you know, Bob Berg has been that Gretsch kit.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting with Gretsch drums. Like, I'm not saying anybody else doesn't make a great product, but there's something about the way that those shells match with die-cast tubes to a microphone in different styles of music translates. It sticks to tape. You know, and I haven't had that kind of luck all the time. The Phoenix kit really sounded good to tape. But it's interestingly enough, this engineer that I work for with Tyler Bates, I don't know if you know who Tyler Bates is a pretty well-to-do film composer. But he's a dude that produced like the last Marilyn Manson record, kind of put him back on the map.
Okay.
Tyler's great. I love working for Tyler.
Okay.
But his engineer, this guy Gustavo Borner, who's a awesome engineer, South American guy, he has a business named Igloo Music in Burbank. They do all the blockbusters, man. They're pretty successful. They do all the Marvel series and, you know. But he was the first one to tell me, he's like, that kit sounds great. Bring your Gretsch back. And I'm like, well, why? Just tell me why. We're friends, you know? Like, And he's like, it has more character. It's a little ruder, a little uglier. We do a lot of rock and roll in here. That kit sounds beautiful, but it's a little too pretty, you know? Because your sound is a little uglier than that. It's a little bit more raw, you know? And he's like, it's good. They sound beautiful. I'm not EQing anything. It sounds great, but they're a little too pretty, you know? So I was like, oh, okay. Well, cool. You know, I get it. Yeah. You know, you have to...
And you chuck a lot of it up to the die-cast and the Jaspers?
I do, man. There's something about those drums that bark. They have a brightness. They're bright, but they're also big, you know? And you can always make a drum not sustain. You can put tape on it, moon gels, zero rings, thicker head, whatever. But it's hard to make drums that don't ring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I have like one vintage like Ludwig kit that's great for that. You know, it's kind of dead sounding. It's got reinforcement hoops. It's never going to be like that, you know, Bill Stewart kind of ring fact. You can't really get that.
It's different.
Yeah, you can't get those drums to do that. So if I'm doing something that needs it, I'll use those drums. But man, Gretsch, they just, you know, they have a thing where you can play a lot of different styles of music on it, and that's how I make a living, you know? It's like I'm not one of those guys that just is lucky and gets to be himself all the time. You know what I mean? I don't really have one version of myself, really.
Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of rock and roll, I do a lot of motion picture, I play a lot of acoustic jazz, and I have this really crazy band with Kinsey, Arto, Tim Spiazziano, and Matt Garrison. I don't even know what to call that music. But
do you get lost, by the way, like when in other words, you're doing a session, you're doing a film thing, you're doing whatever. It could be a fucking jingle, I don't know. I mean, just all this crazy shit. You just lose track. I mean, you drive it around in the car, something comes on, or a movie or a TV show.
Sure.
Are you like, I think that's me? Does
sure.
That
Oh, absolutely. But it's always funny because it's...
you do lose track.
No, absolutely. I'm bad at... I'm not one of those guys that has every record I've ever played on.
Right.
That's not that
It'd be
guy.
a lot of records, yeah.
It'd be a lot of records. There's more than a lot, less than some. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a lot of guys that record more than me. But it's funny because some of this music, and God, I don't want to sound somewhat jaded or in any way snide. I'll just say it. Some of these records, man, it could be me, it could be Abe, it could be Josh, it could be Matt. I know we all played on this record, and I don't remember which song I'm on, but we're all playing the same thing. It's like the same engineer kind of going for the same thing. A lot of times it's all mixed by the same mixer, so he's going using the same tricks.
Yeah.
You know, to me, I mean, sometimes I can hear it if they don't replace the snare drum sample. Oh, that's me, you know? Or I know that's Abe, you know? I can pick Abe out of a lineup. He's got an interesting sound, great sound, but interesting. I know his playing, you know? Same with Matt. I can usually tell Matt pretty well.
Yeah.
You know? But we all play a lot of the same music.
And you feel like your thing, when you do that, can just kind of...
Well, it's
go undercover.
Well, a lot of the times it depends on the producer, but there's so many loops going, 8,000 vocal tracks that are tuned.
Yeah.
And then if they do the programming after the drums, no matter how nailing it to the click you are, which all of us have pretty good time, it's not like you're going to have a real big issue with it, but they beat detected that stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
So it gets flattened out, and that's actually a sound. You know, it's a thing that's going on in today's music. It's been around for a while. Like, you know, obviously we all know that, but to me, it doesn't sound that memorable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, whether we're on some pop record or not, or whoever it is, you know, when I'm playing rock and roll, I can hear more of my identity, actually, than I can in a pop music, you know?
Right. Live in the studio vibe, just...
A lot of the times, who knows what they're going to keep, you know? Sometimes it's just your hi-hats, because there's a super funky loop that they got going on that they don't want to lose, so you're trying to embellish it or make it sound a little bit more human or more dynamic to a degree. You know, the one producer I work for, who actually moved to Nashville, which means I'm going to have to start flying there a lot. But this guy, Ron Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked for Ron for the last 20 years, and we do a lot of pop music, you know? And, you know, to quote him, sometimes it's entertainment, not music, you know? So you're going for...
It's honest.
Yeah, it's very honest. And, you know, we're going for something, and it's not necessarily about what my interpretation of this music is. It is what it is already. I'm walking into the studio, and it's basically sounds done. What am I doing today? Am I adding a little ear candy here and there, or a little thunder when it needs it, fills, or, you know, maybe it will put us on the chorus. Like,
do you always know when it's that, or are you surprised once in a while?
Nah, I never know, man.
Like, in other words, you can walk in and think you're going to be doing what you just said.
Yeah.
And then it turns out they're like, no, man.
Oh, yeah, no, that happens a lot.
Okay.
Actually, that happens a lot. And those are the fun days, you know?
That's what I would think.
Yeah, those are the fun days. But, you know, they call it work for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, so,
yeah.
You know, I'm very grateful to Ron for being very loyal to me for years. I mean, he uses other guys once in a while, but for the most part, I've been his guy for a long time. And loyalty is something that's rare in Hollywood, and especially from a music mogul like that, you know. I feel honored that he's been loyal to me.
But you have a lot of loyalty, right? As far as like you said, engineers and producers who call you, right?
You know, I'm a bit of how would I describe this eloquently? I kind of work with the same family of people. Once I'm comfortable, I don't step outside of my zone very much.
Sure. Does that mean you say no a lot?
Not necessarily no. I don't seek. I'm not one of those guys that's actively out going to like the club scene.
How you doing? I'm Gary.
I just feel like a dick when I do that. I'm not good at it in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, I post more things about, you know, golf on my Instagram than... Yeah. But even that's so funny, man. You put a damn picture of a drum set and it's got 1,000 likes, and you put some video of us ripping keyboard solo at the Baked Potato at Kinsey, killing it, and it's like, you know, half the amount of interest of a empty drum set 2 hours before a gig.
It is strange, right? The drum sets alone.
It's really weird,
man.
You
can get them all over the internet.
Yeah.
And yet...
It's very strange.
Yeah.
But I don't go out of my comfort zone very much, and some of that's to a fault. But you know, the camps that I was involved with over the years,
it's working for you, though.
It's working,
right? I mean, I don't know.
You know what's not?
Be honest. Tell me.
No, I'm honest with you, man. It's none of us are working as much as we used to, and none of us are making what we used to. There are certain guys that still command it. Steve Jordan, I bet you. This is a guess. I don't know him very well. I've met him a couple times. One of my absolute heroes of all time. I know that he's an expensive drummer, and I know that you get what you pay for.
What does he think he is a week?
I probably guess he's $5,000 a day in the studio. That's my guess.
Yeah.
And I think he's every bit worth it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I do. I think when you get him, you're going to get a great sounding record. And you're going to get something that's interesting. You're going to get something that's not predictable. Yeah. You're going to get something that sounds incredible. His ability in a studio is mind-boggling. And a lot of, you know, maybe... look, a lot of guys love Steve Jordan. All of us drummers, we all love the way he plays. But the main thing about Steve to me is his interpretation of people's music on the quick, man.
Yeah.
He can hear a track and just like play the right shit right away, man. And sometimes I can do that, you know. But there's moments where maybe, you know, I feel like maybe I'm struggling. I don't obviously vocalize that, but you know, those guys, they're a dying breed, actually. You know, a guy like a Gadd or Steve Jordan or even Keltner back in his heyday, man, he'd hear something so bizarre and so out of left field that it makes the track a hit. You know, and those things about being a good session drummer, it's like, you know, you can have all the chops in the reading facility, great time, all that kind of stuff can work in your favor. But the second you're out behind the red light, you know, what are you going to bring to the table that's going to make this track stand out? You know, because it all stems from the drum track, you know. All Steve Jordan's patterns and beats that you hear on these records are like phrases that you sing back to yourself. It's kind of heavy, actually, you know. And that's what the allure to him is. Yes, he's got a great time feel. Yes, all those things. But, man, does he interpret a piece of music on the quick, you know. And that's a great talent, you know.
And do you feel like you don't? You just feel...
I wouldn't say that I don't. There's certain things that, you know, obviously I put him on a pretty serious pedestal, but
that's okay, yeah.
I do more grunt work than a guy like Steve Jordan. He gets to be himself. You know, a lot of the times when I'm getting called for, you know, some, you know, new artist over at Virgin or something we're doing, and it's like, you know, this is a really heavily manufactured piece of music, you know. It's hard to find identity in certain kinds of
it's not about
modern,
you. It's about,
not.
Yeah.
You know, he gets called to kind of do that. You know, he almost like a producer in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's Steve's take on it, and that's what you're gonna get. You know, for me, you're walking in, whether it's Fergie or the Black Eyed Peas or these, you know, people that I've worked for, Will.i.am, they all have this idea in their head, you know, and what I think I'm good at is interpreting that idea and being able to give it to him right there on the scene, you know. Steve, they're just gonna let him go, you know, and he's not gonna listen to you, by the way. He's gonna do what he hears. The balls on him is amazing. You know, I have a couple friends of mine that hired him for records, and they're like, you know, hey Steve, man, what about the ride on this section? No, I think I got this, you know. And
it's Orson Welles doing the Frozen Peaks.
Exactly.
The right reading is the one I'm giving you. You know?
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a lot of respect for that because he really does have the conviction. You know, maybe I just don't have the guts to be that strong. I've been forceful on certain record dates, but, you know, I just don't have that kind of reputation, let's face it. You know,
also, you just feel like it's not worth it.
Well,
right?
Yeah, a lot of the times, oh God, this sounds terrible to admit, but I'll admit it. You know, a lot of the times I don't really listen to pop music all that much anymore because it's all sounding so similar. I don't know how I relate to it, but I work for these producers that still do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of the times I'm relying on, you know, just a basic production element of this piece of music. You know, how am I going to fit the drums in there? There's only a few angles I can really take because it's super metronomic, it's super predictable, you know what I mean? And this is what it is. If I take chances, at that point you're not making pop music.
Yeah.
You know,
I get it.
At that point, you know.
Yep.
So it's, you know, it's what it's kind of the, I'm struggling for the right vernacular, but it's kind of a necessary evil to let yourself go in today's world. And if you're making a singer-songwriter record, you get a lot more leeway, you know, because it's usually a band and we're all tracking together. But a lot of these pop records, man, that you're doing, man, I'm the last guy in, man. Big old room, I'm there by myself. You know, everything's already done. Lead vocals already recorded, for Christ's sake, you know. It's completely backwards, you know.
That's bizarre.
It's kind of weird, you know. And then if there's any push and pull in the rhythm section that they did to a loop, you know, that push and pull is on every take in the same exact spot, so you get really good at being elastic.
I was just gonna say, now that's its own art form, though.
Oh yeah, man, it's a pain in the ass, man.
Yeah.
You know, but you get good at it. You know, I got pretty good at following, you know, programming. That some of it's not quantized, you know, and you have to learn the loop and learn the lope, not only the loop, but the lope.
Lope.
Yeah,
Right,
you know,
right.
and where it's swinging or not swinging or half swinging or whatever it is, you know. But it is what it is, and that's the world we live in. And I don't think it's changing anytime soon. I think that
that's the direction it's going, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah, it's just
full on.
Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, I don't know how far I can get. It's so, certain music I hear is so minimalistic these days too. It's like a loop, some keyboard thing, a rapper. There's no bass and no harmony, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of weird too, because, you know, my dad, God bless him, man, he's the old jazzer, you know? He's like making jokes. He'll turn on the radio and be like, how do you play this at somebody's wedding, you know? Like all the popular
the way
music.
The mind works.
Yeah.
Weddings.
Yeah, you know, like how do you do this at Johnny's bar mitzvah,
Yeah,
exactly.
You know?
It's like there's nothing here but a rapper, a beat, and a keyboard track. Like you can't be a cover band anymore.
On the bandstand.
Yeah, you know, you can't even be a cover band.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting world that we live in. Now, I do think that there is a renaissance to a given degree that's happened in Southern California over the last 5 years of people taking a lot of chances. This used to be a studio town. If you played too much, you wouldn't get hired in a movie scene, or, you know, that's not really the case anymore. If you look at a lot of these younger players that are playing around town, they're actually stretching, and we have an improvised music scene in Los Angeles.
No question.
That didn't exist 25 years ago. So I gotta hand it to the younger generation of taking it upon themselves to create avenues to play and places to play and a scene.
Yeah.
And
The Lewis Coles and the...
All of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just Lewis. He's great. Noah's great. But, you know, there's, you know, Danny Jankolo. There's, you know, Danny Rosenboom, great trumpet player who's like the legit new hotshot trumpet player. Did all the Star Wars stuff this year. He's a beautiful classical trumpet player, but he can play his ass off in a jazz setting. But he writes like the world's hardest music ever. But if you ever see Danny Rosenboom's band at the Whalers, go check that out, man. He's on the forefront of some modern music. You know, that's super cool. It's very
you playing
heady.
with him?
Sometimes, you know. I'm not the only one. I think Matt Mayhall has done it a little bit. Maybe Gene Coy has done that gig a few times. You know, yeah, I mean, I play with Danny a lot, but I'm not the only one that does the gig. But he's saying something, you know. Timmy's music, you know, LaFave, what he's bringing around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of younger guys, you know, that there's a saxophone player I met recently, not that recently, about a year and a half ago, but this kid Gavin Templeton, man, it's killing. Like, it's new, it's fresh sounding, you know. I've met a bunch of younger musicians that are really, really pushing the barrier, and it's beautiful to see. You know, hopefully they get some acknowledgement. The one thing that I find is the biggest drag is there are no jazz labels anymore that are giving these guys a real option to get it out there. It's all whatever you can generate on your own.
Yeah. Well, that's because that's record sales now.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. And
what jazz label could survive?
It's so hard.
I mean, Don is running Blue Note, right?
Yeah, but that's not really
That's what I'm
jazz.
saying.
Yeah,
like what's left?
Yeah. You know, God bless him. He's a very nice man, and he's done well for that label, actually, because they're made a little bit of money. Concord is you know, used to be a big jazz label, and they're mostly catalog and signing a bunch of new like rock, trying to be kind of singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
You know, it's different what their logo has changed into. You know, Concord's a different scene now, but you know, it's a little bit sad. I hate to, you know, it's a very trite word to say, but it makes me sad that a lot of the younger cats that are really playing some great stuff that haven't been as noticed as much as others, there's not another avenue for them, you know, as like there was when I was that age. You know, there's a ton of different ways you could release music. Now it's just kind of like, okay, so you put it online with a sea of other bullshit.
Yeah.
How do you find it, you know? That's the answer that we need to find. How do you find the music? How do you, you know,
word of mouth?
That's it, though. All this technology, and it's come back around. It's kind of weird, right? You know?
That's the thing. I mean, if you go back, it's like, like you mentioned social media. Like, that didn't exist. You weren't going to get gigs from that. It was word of mouth. It was recommendations. It was...
Absolutely.
Talk to Novak.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's the way it went.
It's the way it went. And labels had money that were based off of the success of their pop bullshit that supported classical labels, that supported the symphonies recordings.
And you learned this from your dad, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
You saw it.
I'm sure. My, you know, that's how he made a living, was basically, you know, for 50 years.
Yeah.
And
by the way, did you grow up with these guys like Bennett around the house? I mean, were they like...
I used to go to my dad's gigs all the time.
Yeah.
Like, my Louis Belson would come around the house all the time. He was a
Louis
good friend
Belson?
of my dad's. Yeah,
With
my
Pearl
dad.
Bailey? Or
Sure, when
yeah.
he was married to Pearl. They used to spend holidays with us a lot, and they were very nice people, man. Louis was a very, very, very serious ambassador of the cool, man.
Yeah?
Nice man, yeah. And very supportive of younger musicians.
Pulling out the marijuana sticks? that kind of ambassador of cool?
Actually, they were all boozers. That
The
generation.
reefer sticks, no?
Yeah,
Wasn't
no,
like that?
they were drinkers, you know.
Interesting,
Yeah. My dad's 86, so like the beatnik scene was kind of hip when he was jazzing, you know. But like the drug scene was post my dad.
Okay.
Guys that were 10 years younger.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Unless it was downtown, which is, you know, Charlie Parker's and all those guys were doing heroin. But you know, a lot of the jazzer guys back then, Joe Zawinul and all those cats that my dad used to hang with, they were all drinkers. You know.
So even Zawinul wasn't partaking in the...
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
But basically the drug of choice for a lot of those beboppers, I think, was alcohol and downtown, you know?
Yeah.
It was different generation, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it was all of us kind of flower children. I was born in 69, so it's a little bit different for us, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely, we had the wacky tobacco sticks.
Yeah.
But we missed the whole, like, hard drug generation, you know, my generation, you know? All the guys that were a little bit older than me, that were really strung on coke. It's like, the studio guys and all that shit. It's really funny. Those guys that stopped by 40, 45, started playing tennis, they're all still alive. Yeah. The guys that didn't, they're all dead, man.
Yeah.
So, we had examples of what road to go down and how far to push it,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that in a weird way, for the musicians now, man, with all these pharmaceuticals, all this crazy shit, man, kids are doing drugs that we never even knew existed, man.
Really? You see it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. The overdose rate is crazy, man.
The prescription.
Yeah, I'd hate to.
We're talking about the OxyContin. We're talking about
absolutely. There's been
the fentanyl patches.
Absolutely, man. I mean, one of the greatest talents in this city, this young piano player, had an issue with that. Died very young, Stacy Peralta's kid, Austin Peralta. Saddest story in the world. That kid sounded like McCoy Tyner at like 19 years old, man. He's gone. We didn't have access to that shit.
No.
How old are you?
I'm 45. I'll be
45. Okay, so I'm 40, turning 49 in August.
Yeah, close enough.
Same generations.
Yeah.
It's a different world out there, man. I got a lot of friends that have kids that are in their teens, and the shit that they do is like so different than. And I was a derelict, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was not exactly your choir church kid.
But did it ever steer you off the? Did you ever like what I mean? Like start to lose your.
No. And what kept me in it was just sports. I was always into high school sports. I played football through high school and stuff. So I always wanted to be eligible to play. You can't fail the drug test. You can't do this. You can't get into trouble to pass a certain degree, or you're kicked off the team.
Yeah.
So, sports kept me in line. I ran a lot of high school track throughout the 4 years. And
were you a running back?
I was a running back, and we were a good team, man. We were actually in Illinois.
No, because I get that you were a runner. You were the quick guy.
I was kind of fast and
yeah,
pretty good athlete as a kid, but. Speed gets you one thing when you're in high school, but when you get down to the big time, everybody's that fast, But I did play with a bunch of kids in school that went to the NFL. A lot of those guys, yeah, man, quite a few. Some serious Midwestern corn-fed big kids, back then. But that kind of kept me in line,
But you didn't go to school after, right?
No, I did. I went to DePaul University in Chicago. My dad at the time was a teacher there. I went down to North Texas State to check it out, and they got real mad at me when I decided not to go there. But my experience with North Texas was kind of strange, man. I'm a Yankee boy, man. I grew up in Chicago on the north side of the city. Born on the south side, grew up on the north side. I went down to North Texas just to visit. And I was in Denton with a friend of mine. And we were going to get some pizza.
Texas pizza.
Yeah. Well, it's college kids,
Yeah.
So we go out to this place, and it's the first time I'd ever seen actual white dudes with cowboy hats and gun racks with rifles in them and shit, And I was just kind of like, maybe this isn't the scene for me. It's just kind of like I was a little freaked out. Yeah, I was a little freaked out, man. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold, but... Yeah, man. Nothing about the school, nothing about it. I just thought that maybe Texas wasn't the right environment for me. It
wasn't going to work for us.
Yeah, I got a lot of friends there. I got some great friends in Austin and stuff, but
Austin's its own little yeah.
And I got some good musician friends in Dallas. There's some great players there,
Absolutely.
But it was just something that, for me, I don't want to diss on Texas. I've had a lot of fun in that place, but just knowing my personality. That shit ain't gonna fly with me, I'm gonna get into some kind of fight or get shot or get killed down here from some angry white dude with a 12 gauge.
And you don't have the gun, exactly.
No, man, that's not my scene,
Right.
So, I opted to stay home and go to school at DePaul, and then I transferred to Cal State Northridge in the fall of 1988 when I moved out here, and I was a music minor, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to kind of get core classes out of the way so I could get in-state residency after a year. Because the shit was expensive. Well, once you become a California State resident, it's basically like free back then. You could go to Cal State Northridge for $700 a year.
That was good thinking.
So
what was the major?
Actually, I was a music minor and just a general ed. I was taking all my requirement classes. Okay. And Maynard Ferguson called that January, and I dropped out of school and went on the road.
Makes sense.
So I did 6 months with Maynard, came back.
Would this be like
89.
After Bissonette, right?
Oh, way after Greg. Yeah, Greg was in the mid '80s, and I joined.
That's
the
right,
band.
because he was Lee Roth way before that. You're right. Yeah.
That was quite a while before me.
Yep.
I joined in January of '89, and I did it for 6 months.
And how was that?
Absolutely out of this world crazy. It was like the wildest experience you could ever imagine. I'd never toured before. I obviously played a bunch of gigs with my dad and had some experience as a musician, but I'd never been on the road with a bunch of wild, crazy, partying. These guys were out of their mind, man. It was a rude awakening.
How big has that been?
That was like a fusion group. It was tenor, trumpet, keyboards, percussion, bass, and drums. And
you're on a bus?
I was on a bus that was a converted Greyhound, man. Prison style, man. This shit was crazy.
Is Maynard on the bus?
Oh, yeah. And it was an amazing experience. I'm surprised I lived through it, man. It was like an old bus that they converted into a tour bus with plywood and like carpet padding. So it was like if you were like drunk on the bus going through the mountains, if you're rubbing up against the bunk, you're getting a splinter, and a big one. Wow. This shit was dangerous, man. So we had all of our equipment, all of the luggage, PA, monitors, front of house, big old Yamaha PM 4000 or whatever that was back in the day, like their big, 48 console mixing desk, rack, amps, everything, rolling show on one bus. So basically it was like a rolling bomb, way too heavy to be legal. Oh yeah, bus driver spun on coke or whatever he's doing, driving 100 miles an hour across the country, going from like high school to college to college.
And what about Maynard, man? What's it?
Man,
was he just
greatest guy in the world?
But was he the ringleader of all of it? Was he right there in it with you?
Yeah, I caught the tail end, man. It was bad. He was very, very heavily alcoholic, and he still played great, man, when he was somewhat okay, but there was a lot of wine drinking going on and Chardonnay.
Was it like maintenance though?
Yeah.
Like that kind of vibe?
Yeah, I was 19.
Like
man.
he needed it just to kind of coast?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He wasn't wobbly, right? It's not.
No.
He was that level.
He was a real alcoholic, jazz alcoholic.
It was just to keep.
Yeah. You can't function without that.
Yeah. Maynard.
He was a wonderful man, a very nice guy. That was the lowest paying job. We had to share rooms, and the guys I was playing with were absolutely out of their mind crazy. The boozing, the drinking, it was, and I, of course, I had fun with those guys, but I saw pretty early on that ain't going anywhere.
It's also funny because I'm getting the sense like that was wilder than any kind of rock and roll gig you've been on. Am I right? Like the Maynard.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, you're right.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. I felt that way about Holsworth too. When I was with Alan.
Really?
Well, Alan, God bless him, the greatest guitar player that ever lived. But he died of alcoholism, basically. He had been a drinker for his whole life. And, to be able to play as good as he did, doing what he did to me on a daily basis was mind-boggling, frightening, intimidating, and unbelievable. Because I could never do that. I was never the guy. No, man.
Fuck does he?
No, even my biggest hooligan days, bro. I'm not a guy that gets on stage inebriated. That's not really my thing.
No. That doesn't work for drummers, though.
Not really. It doesn't work for a lot of people, bro. I don't care how impervious you are. There's always a point where that shit wears off.
Well, it was the Joe Strummer, I think, talk about, where it was like the idea, like Topper Headon was the heroin addict, and he was saying it works for like sax players who float on top. Mm-hmm. He said, but drummers, it's like hammering nails.
We're too physical.
You've got to be it doesn't work for drummers. And then you're right, it doesn't work for a lot of people. You're right.
Yeah, it doesn't really work for a lot of people.
But when you're like a horn player and you can kind of be floaty.
Yeah, you can kind of. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Believe me, man, I've got a lot of friends that have had substance issues in their lives. And,
sure.
And I don't make light of any of that. I was just lucky enough, even in my biggest hooligan days, I was lucky enough that none of it was that exciting.
Yeah.
I still had a life. I had to get up in the morning. I've been married for 28 years. It's not like, she ain't going to stay with somebody who can't keep it together. I have a life I need to live. I can't. My dad, are you kidding me, man? If I was an epic, pardon the French, but if I was an epic fuck up like that, my dad would kill me.
Sure.
I could never go down that road just off the relationship I have with my dad.
I understand. You always kept it somehow. It was in check.
Yeah.
You were getting fired from gigs.
No. I never had issues with that. I've definitely had issues with my temper.
Sure.
But that's a whole nother reason I've been let go or quit gigs in my life.
Sure.
You know, I like standing up for the little guy. There's a lot of people in this town that have no guts, and they'll take a lot of punishment and not stand up for themselves. You know? And
yeah,
I just can't do that, man. I can't let some...
Is it people talking down to...
Well, or music management people that are musician haters, and they treat the bands like they're problem children. You know, there's a lot of strangeness in today's world with management companies, you know. I hate to name names. We don't need to even get into that, but a big artist that I was working for a few years back, subsequently the management has been fired and he's got different people. But man, like the contract that I got 2 weeks before I did this tour felt like a high school, like homeroom do's and don'ts from these people. Like, if you forget to pay your incidental bill, they charge you 5 times what it is to cover it. If you lose your laminate, they'll charge $100. The second laminate you lose, it's $200. There's almost like making money off of somebody, you know, has a sick kid and forgets to grab his laminate because he's on the phone with his doctor, or getting on the bus in the morning, he's dealing with his kid. They're going to charge him $100. Like, there's a lot of this kind of mentality in the management world.
And so you saw this. Like,
oh, I won't take it.
And you
man.
just said,
oh, I'm the worst.
No, tell me.
Yeah, no, I'm the worst. You know, it's like, I've got some students that might want to do this tour for you if these are the parameters. But, you know, I've never missed a flight. I've never been late to a gig, man. You know, so if you're ordering me, right now when I look at these parameters, I mean, this is just the first couple of paragraphs, you know. It goes into all kinds of different things, you know, about... It was crazy.
It's in the contract though, so there's no excuses. There is no like wiggle room. It's just like, no, fuck you, pay up.
I mean, we're
docking your pay.
Yeah, oh yeah, at anything. Like if you're late for sound check, they were gonna dock people, you know. But what do you mean late for sound check? You take the bus to the arena. You're in the arena.
I'm there.
If I'm in the bathroom, you know. If I had some bad catering from the money you saved last night and I'm sick...
It's called Montezuma's revenge, people.
You know, I don't know if that's really fair for you to...
It's not
you
fair.
know, it was a very strange moment.
And you speak up.
Oh, yeah.
And no one else does.
No one else does. Everybody takes it, man. You know, a lot of these gigs, too, man. I mean, you know, like I said, I don't really want to get into naming names, but a lot of these gigs, man, that are high-profile jobs pay a shit ton less than you'd ever imagine.
Well, we go over that on this show a lot.
Good.
Yeah.
Because people take
that.
Yeah, people take gigs for a lot less money than they should, man. And it's amazing. I remember I used to hang out with a T-shirt guy with Alanis when I was, you know, in her band, and we were the biggest band in rock and roll at the time, you know. And I watched this guy, like, you know, like a potato sack, $65,000 in there after like one night, you know, of
merch. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, man. You know. So when somebody from management is telling you we can't afford it, you know, my ticket price with Alanis was probably the first 10 rows, like just the first 10 seats.
Yeah, that thing.
That pays what they're paying me that night.
That's the Liberty DeVito, Billy Joel thing.
Absolutely. When you really understand the numbers.
That guy paid more for his seat than I'm getting paid. Yeah, that one guy. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's amazing.
And again, you said the T-shirt guy, just being tight with him. And
I just know what these guys are making, you know. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, man, you know.
That's why Gene Simmons is Gene Simmons, you know. It's like
merchandising. You gotta have merchandising. It's all about, you know, having the golf clubs and the coffin and the...
So it certainly ain't his bass playing.
Lunch boxes. Well, you know.
You know, but yeah, it's funny, man. It's super funny. Gene Simmons, what a character. I actually got... I have a funny story about Gene. I sat next to him. I won't go into it too long because we're on to other things. But I sat next to him once going to Europe on some business class upgrade I got.
There you go.
And he was so mean to these people, man. It was unbelievable.
To these stewardesses?
Oh, yeah. It was unbelievable, man. It was
like what? What do you say?
Like just sexual harassment, basically. Like, I couldn't believe what he was getting away with. And it's just like, after the 12 hours I spent next to him, I just was like, wow, man, you actually, like, you live on another level.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like it's just a different level. I couldn't even have the balls to be that mean to somebody, you know?
It was just sport for him.
Kind of sport.
He was just like, work in the heavy bag. He's just having fun.
I could not believe
it. Right?
He
was just like, I'm bored.
I couldn't believe it, man. Wow, you know? Whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the time I met Peter Criss. It was awesome. I was in a gas station filling up one of my cars. There's Peter Criss looking like he just walked out of a strip club at like 2 PM, and he's got an autographed pair of drumsticks in his lapel, man. And I'm like, "Are you Peter Criss?" He's like, "Yeah, man. Here's some drumsticks." I was like, "Awesome!" It's the best moment ever,
just
man.
had him. I love it.
Just had him right there, man. So funny, man. Those guys, man. I can't even imagine what their scene must have been like.
Oh, yeah. Well, Peter and Ace alone, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, he went through some pretty serious health issues, though, right? Peter Criss, didn't he?
Yeah, he had breast cancer.
Yeah. It's a weird one.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a weird one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric Singer took his spot or something, right?
Wasn't he Eric Carr?
Eric Carr. There you go.
Yeah, who
Eric
died.
Carr. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a few of those, man. I remember I saw this kid playing with Paige Plant when I was still with Alanis. We did some kind of, I can't remember what it was, maybe like one of those Live Aid kind of things in Paris. Mm-hmm. And Robert Plant and Jimmy Page were playing after us. And it was an epic moment, you know, looking to the side of the stage and seeing Robert Plant, Jimmy Page checking us out. It's like, whoa, that's kind of ruling, you know? But man, they had a drummer, man, that guy Michael Lee. Do you remember him? Yeah. Big, tall British guy, man. He sounded amazing on that gig, man. Played beautiful. He died real young of an aneurysm. There's been a few of those guys. It's really sad, you know?
Well, aneurysms are just fucking...
Yeah, it's like terrible.
What the hell?
Yeah,
it's like...
man. It was really sad. Because that show in particular was an amazing night. I got to sit right in a Jimmy Page road case. The drum tech was really nice to me, and I got to like watch them play all these Zeppelin tunes like from 15 feet off the stage, man. It was incredible.
That was the tour where they just didn't even invite Jonesy.
That's right. It was very strange.
And Jonesy even said that. He goes, they never called.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks, guys.
And quiet as it's kept, he was the heaviest musician in the band, even though I'm the biggest Bonham fan ever.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, he was the best musician in that band.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was an amazing night. But just speaking of untimely, very sad young deaths and drummers, Michael Lee, man, that guy could play. He was a great rock drummer. Woo, did he do that good? Wow, but he has his own take on it. You know? Yeah,
it's not Jason Bonham.
No, he sounded great, man. That was just it was an amazing night of music to witness. And never forget, man, when he passed away, it just kind of stung for some reason. I only shook his hand once.
Because I'm telling you, aneurysms are just fucking... They seem so unfair.
Yeah,
they just drop.
Yeah.
They just drop. It's just over.
Instant.
It's a computer crash. It's like it just doesn't...
And it's like kind of genetically set in stone the minute you come out of the womb, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad story, man. But what a player he was, man. Big bruiser English guy, man, like 6'5" or something. At least he looked that tall on a riser, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that band was great, though. They sounded good. And he also was the drummer when they did that stuff. I don't know if you remember the Page Plant thing when they had, like, the Egyptian percussionist, Hassan Ramsey, and all. So he was the drummer in that band. He sounded incredible, man. Yeah, that was a good period.
Big, like, hair. And
exactly. Yeah,
I remember the guy.
The bad dude, man.
He was great.
He was a bad dude. Like, that was a good scene, actually. And music was pretty progressive at that point. Lots of good creative energy in the rock and roll world. You know, Foos had just kind of really hit.
Right.
At that point, you know.
Did you have fun with Alanis? Like,
absolutely. Yeah, those were, you know, still to this day, like 4 of my best pals, you know.
Got it.
The way I got that gig was not anything other than being friends with those guys, you know. At the time,
see, back to...
Well, yeah, their family. Chris Chaney, who's a great bass player in Los Angeles, great studio bass player, now plays in Jane's Addiction. But Chris and I were roommates, man. Forever. We lived together before we found our prospective better halves. So we lived our young, single, crazy musician days in a house in Woodland Hills owned by Tim Landers, the bass player. He used to play with Billy Cobham.
Wow.
Cool guy. Tim was great.
You rented from Tim?
Yeah, he was our Landers lord. He was a great guy, man. But Chris and I shared a house together for many, many, many years. And at the time, I was playing with Chick's band and a little bit with David Sanborn, and he got called to audition for Alanis. And he got the gig, and this is right when Jagged Little Pill came out. You know,
Matt Logg.
That's right. Matt played on that. Another great player. And Matt's great. So Chris joined the live band, and at the time, it was Taylor Hawkins, Jesse Tobias, guitar player, and a guy from England who's a great guitar player, a great friend, Nick Lashley. And they did, you know, the lion's share of all of that when it first hit up, and she sold like 30 million, 28 million records or something. It was massive, you know. And I would hang out with Chris. Obviously, we were super close. So that's how I met Taylor and all these guys. Was I'd go to the Dragonfly or whatever the promo gigs they would do around Hollywood and stuff like that, and just hang out. And that's when I met Alanis. And when Taylor left to go with the Foo Fighters after that whole 1.5-year tour, Alanis got like 800 tapes from drummers that wanted a gig, and she was like throwing a hissy fit, like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna listen to all these people? She's like, what about your friend, that jazz guy? He can learn this music. Can he help us out for a while until we find somebody?
So it was her idea.
Yeah, she was just like, Gary, can he do these? Like, we had a bunch of free gigs, like Tibetan Freedom concerts, like these benefit shows.
Was that the Beastie Boys thing? The Tibetan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Adam Yauch, right?
Yeah. They were ripping. They sounded amazing. Yeah. And I did like the Bridge School benefit, Neil Young's benefit for special needs children.
Yes.
And those gigs don't pay anything, but they're great causes. And of course I'll go play with my bros. So I did the gigs, and it was kind of like half acoustic and whatever. And it just kind of happened from there. She's like, well, this sounds great. Why do we need to look for anybody?
Oh, one of those where I get it. You were there, and it was like, well...
Yeah, we're all friends. She
nothing was ever
me.
Really said, and nothing was ever really...
Yeah, she's just like, cool, we have this session. We're going to record this song Uninvited.
Right. It just kind of kept happening.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that I, actually got that gig.
Management never did say,
Never. Yeah. It was just after a while, just being friends with those people, it's just kind of the shoe kind of fits,
Yep. It's kind of the best way, no?
In a weird way, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I guess when you get a gig that's high profile like that and you're going to get to make some money, any way you get it is cool. But that way it was at least trust was established before anything was financially discussed.
It's more organic.
Yeah, exactly. And that gig lasted for a while. We had a great time. It was a great band, man. That was a really strong band, But, all the good things come to an end. She decided to not tour anymore.
Yeah.
That's all good. I mean, Blair did it for a while afterwards. He was there for a minute. I think Victor Andrizzo is on it.
She's doing it now, right?
Yeah. Vic's doing it. So she's doing gigs every now and then. I don't know how much she really works anymore.
I guess when you don't have to,
yeah,
right?
when you don't have to. She's got kids, and, it's got to be a weird thing being a parent and going on the road. I mean, it's... I just, especially in that kind of capacity, I'm just a side man. It's a different thing when you're like, the whole thing is your name, it's your business, it's everything on you,
She just strikes me as someone who's like, I don't know what she's worth, but that's a lot. And
it has to be.
When you don't have to, you just...
Yeah, it has to be. I mean,
right?
28 million records when you were actually selling records.
Yeah.
Pretty huge amount of success, But, I played, I don't know, I can't remember, maybe 3 of her records or something like that. A couple of big tours. It was fun. We had a good time. I met Matt Chamberlain on that tour. We did a double bill with Tori Amos for a summer. That was really fun. Matt's great. Super nice guy. He was a lot of fun to hang out with. Tori's crew was really good people. Mm-hmm.
Was Chris Hewer on that?
Yes. Yeah. There was a bunch of, it's funny. I still know a lot of those same guys from then,
Yeah.
Like certain tour managers, lighting guys, tech companies. A lot of people had a lot of work back then, man, and it was good times, and now people are they're doing it. And I still see these guys from time to time, but, it's funny. It's like a lot more corporate gigs, like monitor guys, you know what I mean? They were really excellent audio engineers, that there's just not the same amount of tours that are going on. Yeah. So they're on tour for Toyota, going all over the world doing corporate events, making great money, but you're not doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
Thank God there's work for those people, but it's different. It's different, definitely different, I don't know how to sugarcoat that one,
No need to.
There's no need.
It's
it's kind of over, I mean, especially a lot of these bands now, I think kind of sad for a bunch of these young musicians, that get on these pop gigs. It's like the dancers are getting more time than you are. You're off stage. Some of these bands are off stage. I mean, Lady Gaga's thing, there were a silhouette in an apartment building or something, right? Like the stage looked like a city landscape or a cityscape, and like you'd have backlit windows with a shadow of the guy,
Yeah. Or you're wearing some animal costume on Saturday Night Live, and you gotta
It's so weird, man. I don't.
Do you get these offers, and you just say no thanks because of the number? Does that happen or no?
The number is, why go do something and support a massively profitable business for the same money I make playing my band.
$1,500 a week.
Well, we would do better than that with
No,
with the
I'm saying
jazz
like
groups.
right with some of
And
these.
some of those things are around there, and those are what entry tech level positions are.
That's what I'm saying. Like, do you get this? And you say like, no, thank you.
You know, I've been hit up about it a few times, but the thing is, I'm now 48. I have not a lick of hair on my head. I'm a chrome dome, right? So that's not in my favor for some of these younger gigs. You know, I'm an older guy now. I'm not a younger guy.
So
And
you're saying they want someone who,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I still do a lot of those records, you know what I mean? But
right.
you know, there's a few artists that don't really think like that. You know, I work
for the
this,
road. We want the guy who looks 22.
Sure,
right?
absolutely. And they also want the guy who's 22 who's dumb enough not to know he's being ripped off.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's back to you, Maynard, on the bus. You said the pay was shit, but
yeah, I split though.
It was experience.
Yeah, it was experience,
and that's what they want.
That's what they want. But the thing is, on that kind of level, the deal is with Maynard Ferguson, they were making probably $15K tops a night. But when you're talking about $500,000 to $750,000 an evening, and there's only 12 people up there, including dancers, that are getting salary, you got to do the math, man. You're getting really, really taken to the bank.
Back to 65 just in t-shirts, right?
Yeah. You know, so some of these guys, I wish there was some sort of thing, like even through the union, which is basically barely holding on, but somehow to like have some sort of solidarity that you can't do that to us.
The union's not looking out.
No.
It's not.
Not really, man. I mean, there's certain things they help with, but not much.
Not that.
Not much. No, absolutely not that. Their whole thing with live performance is really on the wayside, you know. But I wish there was a way to communicate with some of these people, you know.
And this goes back to standing up for yourself. You want to tell these kids like,
absolutely, man. What are you doing? These guys are making money hand over fist, man. They're taking $8,000 a week out of your pocket. Trust me in that. You know, that's not a lie. You know, and and to think you're balling because you're going to make $50,000 that year, when the guy that's doing the accounting and not even on the bus is pulling in $250.
Yeah.
And bonuses.
Yeah.
Off of your salary. You know, that's real, man. You know, that's a real thing. So, you know, people are real anxious to have work, man. And it seems like in today's world, people are much more apt to take that sacrifice than they were 30 years ago, because there was a lot more work 30 years ago. You didn't have, you know, in order for somebody like, we'll take some bullshit reference, Paula Abdul, right? Now, when she first hit the road, I remember all my friends were in that band, you know, and they took that gig, and it was pretty decent pay for something like that back then. They were making like $335, and there was dancers and the whole thing, right? But like, there was 8 other jobs that were around for auditions at that point that paid a little bit better because they wanted a better band or whatever. They were competing with each other, you know. There's a lot more going on, you know, whether it was Sheena Easton or like who was it, Jody Watley, or all these pop bands and R&B acts that were going out. You know, there's nobody doing it in those numbers anymore. No. So they have you by the balls.
And you're good friends with Reggie Hamilton.
Very good friends with Reggie, yeah.
And he told a great story about Paula Abdul.
Oh, yeah?
I think it was like he put the hand out, I want to say, and she just kind of looked at it, and that told him everything he needed to know.
Absolutely.
Like, fuck this.
Yeah, why? You know, I mean, Reggie's had a great career in playing with a lot of these people, from Whitney. You know, I was doing a lot of these Italian gigs with Reggie. You know, I did a lot of those with Eros, who's an Italian singer, who's pretty popular in Europe.
But they pay good.
They do pay good. They pay real good because they actually value a consistent show with people that are happy to be there.
Yeah.
That way you keep bands, you know. It's the turnaround on a lot of these gigs. I mean, you know, to be honest with you, I don't know what Justin Timberlake pays, but I know it ain't what Tiziano Ferro pays me. You know?
No. I mean, from what I understand, the only guy, or not, I don't say the only guy, I shouldn't say that, but one of the guys, the youngish guys who kind of gets it and goes old school would be Mayer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he plays
treats,
well, of course.
Because he gets the right guys.
Yeah.
There's that. Yeah.
And there's a small band, he can afford it.
Yeah. He gets the Pinos and the Jordans. And you know, yeah.
More power to him.
Sure. But you're right. The other guys,
Man, you know, these managers, man, not to keep going back to that, but they do not care what that shit sounds like, man. It's bodies on stage. Because half that shit's track, bro. A lot of it's track coming out of that thing, man. If, you know, depending on the band, but, you know, you can stop playing and the show goes on.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but, you know, it's borderline. I'll say it. It's not borderline. It's fraudulent.
Didn't that happen to ELO? Didn't they get busted or something?
Everybody does it, man. Yeah. Busted or not. You can't go to a live performance right now and see anybody on a major level like that that's selling 10,000 tickets, except for John Mayer, that's actually playing. They're all up there using tracks, man. Every single act. What, do you think Katy Perry's singing? No, man. You need the sounds from the record, you know? And the only way you can get the sounds from the record from a program is you have a big 2 Pro Tools rig with a really expensive A/B switch, and in case something goes wrong, switch it directly seamless from one rig to the next. You know, I mean, the same thing with Tiziano. We're playing to 80,000 people, man, but that shit is track. You know, he's singing 70% of it. You know, there's other things that, you know, they have the vocals off the record, so it makes it sound a little thicker, you know, but that's what's happening today, man. That's what it is. It's all playback, man. You know, that's scary because you're selling tickets and basically playing your damn record. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure there's bands, obviously. Okay, the Rolling Stones ain't using tracks, but you know, Charlie Watts probably couldn't hang with a.
But how many guys are in that band now?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you
know, that's Paul Simon's not using tracks. I'm speaking specifically of you know, the girl power bands and all this stuff. It's all phony, man. You know, and anybody that wishes to argue with that with me, I will send you to the guys that set it up for the live system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just, that's the way it is.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, and you know, being a player these days, you have to be really good at playing with click tracks and loops. There is no way around it. Yeah. You know, that's something we all need to be good at. You know, if you want to be a sideman, you know, that's what it is. It's depressing, man, but that's what it is. You know, there are some movements that are getting away from that. Some of these younger bands, they don't have obviously the same popularity, you know, but like Alabama Shakes or Tedeschi Trucks, you know, they're out there. Those are real music bands.
Sure.
But they're playing the Orpheum for 2
different.
nights.
Yeah,
you're not selling out Staples for 3 nights, you know. It's a very strange world we're living in, but, you know, you got to figure out a way to navigate through it. I don't have all the answers, brother, but I see a lot of the holes, and I'm looking, you know. I wish there was a scene where people could figure out copyright, you know. I mean, Instagram threw a big crap when they wanted to take everybody's rights for their pictures. You remember this whole scene when Instagram first came out? Oh, they have rights to your photos. Everybody freaked out and went through the legislation. It actually made it to like Washington about, you know, their intellectual property. You can't have rights to my picture I post on your website.
It's a private company.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you mean to tell me that you can share files of people's recorded music all over the world, but you steal those files on your iPhone every day or whatever you're doing, but you're pissed at Instagram for wanting to hijack
that's what I'm saying.
Picture of the beach?
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It's so weird, man, where our priorities are.
Like, it's my rights. No, it's not. You're on Instagram.
Yeah, it's really strange.
It's not your rights.
It's a strange world. But, you know, who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe somebody will finally figure out a way. I think one of the possibilities for copyright infringement is motion picture. Like, you know, the Russian sites and the BitTorrent, you can download movies, but the problem with that is it takes a while, so you have to ping from server to server, and it takes a second you can't really trace that down. But when the movie industry starts being hit as hard as the music business has, you will watch copyright change. You know, because I really do feel that it's coming. You know, the whole Netflix thing is just taking off. Like when the movies are getting hit by bootleggers as much as the music business is, man, and you can't pay Juliette Lewis.
I was going to say when it's hitting their pockets, then
or George Clooney can't charge us $30 million a movie anymore.
That is happening, isn't it? Like, I mean, like Johnny Depp was like the highest paid, but all his movies were tanking.
Yeah,
so it's like
it's starting to happen. You know, somewhat, and I think that's when maybe SAG, which is a stronger union than the musicians union.
No question.
Yeah, when they get enough balls to maybe take on Washington, I think maybe that's when you'll start seeing some kind of digital watermark start being enforced, you know. But it's until that happens, man. You know, the Pandora's box. How do you close it? You know, how do you tell people to pay for something they've been getting free for over 10 years now, 15 years? You know, that's kind of a weird one. You know, I don't know. I mean, when did Napster really take off? That was what, 2004?
That's a good question. I mean, I remember like Lars Ulrich.
Huge, yeah.
Fighting it, and everyone was making fun of him. Everybody.
No, he saw it, man.
Was collectively like, "Fuck you, you millionaire piece of shit!
No,
How
he saw
dare
it,
you
man.
complain?"
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh.
No, he was.
Lars
dead.
was.
Yeah, he was dead balls accurate.
Lars was right.
You know,
but you remember ever at the time he was
oh
a joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally remember.
It was
but
shut
I
the
remember,
fuck up.
I remember sticking up for him though, because to be honest with you,
you saw the writing on the wall.
Oh yeah, my dad saw it too. I will never forget this, man. My dad, when I came home from God, I can't remember the name of the chain right now, but there was an electronics store in the Midwest that's gone now. But I bought a dual cassette deck, right? My first Toshiba dual cassette deck, you know. And I brought it home, and my dad looked at it. He's like, "That's the end of the music business right there."
Yeah.
You know, because I could take the record player and make 2 copies of the record.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason I bought it is because I used to like to practice the records, and it wouldn't skip if I used the cassette deck. So,
good point.
You know, but he saw it, man. He's like, "Man, are you kidding? This is, you can make, if you sit around all day, you can make 300 of these copies, or however much, you know, time it takes to do 2 at once." You know, he's like, "That's just horrifying for the recording business," you know. And that's how my dad made a living, was, you know, playing jazz and doing TV and sessions and jingles and the residuals, you know. That's how I
Is
was
jingles
raised.
a thing?
No.
Yeah.
It was for a long time, but no, it's completely gone. I haven't been called for a TV commercial in probably 8 years.
Is,
you know?
Is someone doing it?
Actually, I'm lying. I did a jingle. That's funny you bring this up. It was the first jingle I've done in like 6 months. It was, you know who Alan Bergman is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was for Alan Bergman. It was like a jazz date at Capitol for like a heart monitor product for, like, you know, senior citizens.
All right.
You know,
we'll take it.
Yeah, whatever, like some AARP shit. But
sure.
It was just a little jingle at Capitol. But that's the first time I've actually done like something for TV.
I was gonna say, because even Danziger's told me like he's done like jingles for like, I don't know, like like air fresheners and shit.
Yeah,
like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
and people don't know that.
Oh yeah, but I mean, that was a big source of income for us.
Well,
for
yeah,
years.
yeah.
Now it's not really there. You know, a lot of these guys that were the big jingle writers, they've had to suffer with the whole buyout situation. My brother-in-law was a very successful jingle writer, and he retired at 40.
Really?
But he saw the end of the business, man, where you would get $40,000 as an ad budget, right? Now you're all in for like $7,500, and it's a buyout, and they get the publishing, and so it, you know, it's such a different world out there for jingle writers. It's, you know, I used to work for a company called Hum Music, and I don't know if you know who Dave Cause, the smooth jazz saxophone player. I don't know if you know who that is, but his brother was a very successful jingle writer and had a company called Hum Music that had like Honda and all these big accounts, and I used to work for them a lot. I haven't heard from Hum Music in 8 years. Maybe I said something wrong. That's a possibility. but Jeff Goss was a friend. I mean, you know, he used to hire me all the time. I just don't know if they have budgets to actually use live players. I think most of it's MIDI, and then if they need it, they'll call a couple string players in, or maybe a live drummer once in a while. You know, but
here, so what? Film, TV still?
For you? I do motion picture. Yeah. Motion picture and records. Less records than I used to, but I still do them. I still see Rob Cavallo once in a while. You know, he was the guy that did all those Green Day records and all that. And, you know, I worked for Rob for a long time. I was part of his team for a long time. And Ron Fair, you know, I still see Ron. Occasionally, I used to work for a guy named Lester Mendez, but I haven't worked for him for a while. You know, it's kind of a changing of the guard here, too. A lot of these guys are retiring, they're getting older, or they're not as hip as they used to be. You know, so
would you rather be doing that than having to go on the road, or do you like being on the road?
You know,
do you need the road? In other words,
I need the road these days, yes, because of my situation with what I was going through with my wife, with her.
But I guess I should rephrase it. In other words, like if just being in town could you could get your monthly nut.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at.
I love that, and that's
you
something
don't want to go on the road.
Not necessarily anymore. No, it's really easy driving to Hollywood, playing on somebody's record,
sleeping in your own bed at night.
Yeah. And a lot of my jazzer friends in New York, like, and to be quite honest, a lot of the drum community, like, don't really get why I've kind of like done that, or they think, wow, you're not playing on these gigs, he must be some crazy drug addict, he's not on the road playing with all these people. It's like, guys, you don't get it, you know what I mean? It's like you can go and play on some movie and make the same amount of money in 1 or 2 days as I was making a week driving around in a van all over Europe playing great music. It's incredible, yes, but there comes a point in your life where it's like, oh, I'm gonna actually pay all my health insurance through these 3 films I just did for the whole year. You know, because I qualify from...
The union works.
Well, yeah. You know, although this year, it's funny, I don't know if I'm going to qualify. I don't know if I have enough union sessions this year. You know, I've done quite a few motion pictures that were union jobs, but I've also done some buyout ones. Shh. Because I'm not supposed to, but you got to. You know, you have to take what you get.
Yeah.
Now, that's an easier life, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
but some guys like the that's why I was asking.
I don't hate travel, but I will tell you that it got 10 times harder post 9/11.
No question.
Yeah, taking our gear around.
It sucks.
It's way more expensive.
It just sucks.
It really does.
Yeah.
And I will do it if it's music I really love or the bread is huge. Like
the 2 or 3 rule. Kind of.
Exactly. Like when I work for those Italian guys, not only is the bread right, but that's kind of like a European rock star situation. So it's all first class, there's nice buses, beautiful hotels, easy work schedule. Nobody's ever going to turn that down.
And you like the people.
They're great.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned the language now, and I don't feel like I'm away from home when I'm over there. It's a nice lifestyle. That being said, you know, this Human Element tour I just did for pushing our new record with Matt Garrison, Scott Kinsey, and Arto Tunspiacian, like, that's my favorite music I've ever really done in my life, because it's ours, and we just did 3.5 weeks in Europe. But man, it was hard, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Well, some van, you know, some flying, you know.
What's the schlepping?
A lot of schlepping this tour, but the end of the tour was a lot harder, and the first 2 weeks were like a vacation. Lots of off days, beautiful weather, playing great gigs, theaters and stuff, and then all of a sudden the gas money gigs started happening, where, you know, we're playing the clubs and one-nighters, and it was like, man, ever since Jessica had her medical thing a year ago, I've been primarily in town, so I haven't had my ass kicked like that in a while.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, the muscle gets soft.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
Playing every night, real serious like that, like being super creative and having to be on and having to perform for people that are there to see me. They're not there to see Tiziano Ferro or Eros or some huge singer you're playing for. I'm kind of anonymous as some dude up there with a cool looking drum set that gets on the video screen once in a while. That whether I'm there or not, the artist cares about it, but the 13-year-old girl that's a fan in the front row doesn't care. So I have an anonymity to that.
Yes.
That pressure-wise is a lot easier on me. Even if you're playing to 80,000 people, that to me is a lot easier than playing music that I'm expected to be brilliant on every night, whether I'm sleeping or not.
And again, you have to worry about the gas money. You have to worry about how much the hotel costs.
Oh yeah. We did all the finances together.
Yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah, we did okay. Wasn't it?
No, but I mean, it's not.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Now, it's worth it because it's something that I have a vested interest in.
It's a passion.
Yes. You know, and I'm interested in that, and I think that we have a potential in a niche, because no music is really like that in modern jazz right now. But not to say we're any better or any worse, it's just different. Nobody's doing what we're doing, you know.
But you can do it better there than here.
You know, we haven't tried here yet.
I don't even know what here would be, by the way. I don't know.
Neither do I.
Would Montana be, you know what I'm saying?
Not Montana, but
you follow me? Like, I don't know what that would mean.
I agree, but I think some of the hippie festivals that we got on that circuit,
those jam band things,
I think they would really dig it. Because it's almost as if you took like a weather report world music
Yeah.
and some EDM and square pusher and mashed it all up into one thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it
I
has
see what you
elements, we can kind of turn different directions depending on the age bracket of the crowd.
I know what you mean. Like Medeski, Martin, and Wood did that. They got in that scene. I know what you mean.
We have a potential for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't tried in the States, and not because of anything else than all of our schedules have been kind of sporadic in trying to get everybody to be able to
busy
tour.
Guy. That's what I was going to say. Like, are you basically working
lately? Yes.
Yeah.
But that's because I kind of have to.
Yeah.
Obviously I told you what happened. My wife had a stroke, and she's doing great to make a full recovery. But, insurance has been fantastic, but there's a lot of therapy that happens that they don't cover.
Yeah.
And if you only knew how expensive that stuff was, so basically things that I might not say yes to just on the basis of needing some free time. I don't really have the option to do that right now. You know what I mean? Because it's all about her recovery. So I just take everything I can, and where I used to be a little bit more discriminant about it, some of the lower paying sessions and stuff like that. If you're a friend of mine, I'll do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Whereas before I used to not necessarily always take everything just because, I'm 48 and I'm slowing down a little bit. It's nice to have off time.
I was going to say, you could live with 2 weeks off. That'd be okay with you.
I would pray for it right now. But I don't really have it.
Can't do it.
Not really. It's...
If you did, you mind if I...
No, hit it, man.
Do you... Okay, assuming you could.
Yes.
Let's just play the game for 1 second.
Nice.
Nice. That's one way to do
it. Nice.
Okay, so if you could, would you be playing every day regardless? That's my question.
Well, it's...
And be honest,
no,
please.
No, absolutely. That's a really good question because I never lost the love of playing in town. Okay? Ever. Okay. I play as much as I can in this city at night because those are my practice nights. Not to say I practice on somebody's gig and just kind of overplay, but that's what keeps the antenna up. It keeps the radar going. I have a lot of different friends in different music scenes. Like, I've got my R&B guys or the real blues dudes I play with, that's kind of fun, to play music that I don't always do.
And it's nice to play shuffles.
Oh, all night long, man. Growing up in Chicago, man, that's like,
hello.
You got to learn how to do that. But, I do that as much as I can. I do my thing with Kinsey as much as I can in town. Tim Lefebvre and I play as much as we can. His girl, Rachel Eckroth, we have a little trio that we work in a lot. And I try to play as much acoustic jazz as I can because the only way to keep your vocabulary current is to use it, I've had situations in my life where I was out playing this Italian pop gig for 6 months straight, and Wayne Krantz called me because Keith couldn't make one tour with Tim, and kind of a last minute thing, and it was in between tour breaks, right? So I had 3 weeks off. I'll go out and play with Wayne and Tim. That'll be super fun. My old bros, go out and play. Man, I had been playing pretty simple music for a long time.
Right.
And getting into that scene was like, ooh, that was a rude awakening. It's like, you gotta use it, man, or else you lose it, So...
See, it's helpful to hear that from a guy like you. That's what I'm saying. I like that honesty.
No, man, it's totally honest, dude. I got really good at playing vocal music.
Yeah.
Got really good at, playing...
But people need to hear that, in other words. Like, to go, even Gary Novak.
No, you gotta use it, man, because playing soft is one thing. When you're playing up in a huge arena...
The mics do the work?
Well, not only that, but I'm standing on the drums, we're playing super loud, it's rock and roll, it's cool, it's a show. You're trying to translate everything you play to 18,000 people. But when you're playing completely improvised music that comes from a whisper volume to super loud or whatever, and you have to improvise all night, and you haven't been using those muscles, man. Yeah. It's like you couldn't basically say everything you got to say in the first 10 minutes of the night. And now what?
Right, but also when I'm like, in other words, like Danziger will admit, like when he's not, like I was like, do you work, like, say, do you have a pad? He's like, no. Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying, like do you play at home?
I wish, man. Okay.
That's again, honestly, I like it.
No, I wish. It's funny you say that because one of my friends who's a very good drummer in town, he's also a very good engineer. He plays with Scott Henderson, or did for a long time. This guy, Alan Hertz, from Garage Mahal, San Francisco kid. Yeah. Alan's got a nice little studio, and he's got a bunch of drums over there. And occasionally, I'll show up at Alan's studio at midnight, and we'll kind of wail for a little while, spend like a half an hour just trading and having some fun. And that's the first time I've done that in like 26 years. And I see the benefit in keeping things fluid. As a younger man, I never really had the issue of not having the facility of having the things that were in my head. Not to saying I had unlimited chops. I had the chops to be able to play what I hear. Okay? So there's a lot of other drummers that got a lot more hands than I do. But at this point in my life, I think that I'm still there, but it takes me a couple days if I haven't been doing it. And that's scaring me. And it's not about the music, it's about the physical aspect of the instrument. We don't play piano. We play drums, and I've played a lot of loud rock and roll. I've had a lot of sports injuries. I've crashed on mountain bikes.
Yeah.
I've, broken a lot of fingers. I've done a lot of things in my life.
Pings and pangs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's funny how the older you get, some of that stuff actually plays into the picture. And I don't want to get to be 60 and not be able to have what I used to have.
Yeah.
Because I remember once I saw Vin at the John Anson Ford when we did the Baked Potato Celebration, and he was playing a gig with the Ministry with Mikey and Matheson and Abe, and his left hand, he'd been playing with Jeff Beck, playing traditional all summer, playing super loud, and his ulnar nerve freaked out, and he couldn't even hold the stick, It was a big deal. I saw the look of fear on his face. For the first time in his life, he felt not invincible. It's Vinny Colaiuta, it's Superman. Guy's got more hands than God, And I felt so bad for him because I could see the genuine fear. Is this going to come back? Is this chronic? Am I never going to be able to control this nerve?
It fucking happens.
Yeah, and, I have never gotten to something that was that scary, but I've definitely, been out playing pop music for, 5 weeks and sat on a kit of drums when I got home on a break and been like, whoa, I'm tired, and I've only been playing for 10 minutes of trying to play some actual soloing or improv, It was like, wow, I don't have it like I used to, but it does come back relatively fast. But I think if you don't use it at my age, you lose it.
But you are using it, as you said, out at night in the
as
clubs.
much as I can.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not at home alone.
No,
that's kind of just.
No, and I hate to sound like.
No, but it's okay. It's honest. And
well, drums without music is kind of boring to me, man.
And there's that.
I'm not one of those guys that checks out soloists and stalks YouTube to see the next hot kid that can play 9,000 miles an hour and play all these drums. That shit's all cool to me. Yeah, cool, but
that's not.
I'm a music guy, man. Yeah. Great drumming with crap music is not cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I always find it very difficult to sound great if I'm playing with somebody I'm not hooking up with. Yeah. I'm very victim to the communication on stage, especially playing improvised music. If somebody's ripping, when I'm, if I'm playing with somebody that's absolutely kicking ass, I'm inspired. Things come out of me that I don't think would have come out of me if I was in a room by myself. Music has a grand effect on me. It's almost my religion in a weird way. It's that moment when you connect with somebody and it's an esoteric connection. You can't put your finger on why this music is so incredible. But when that happens, that's when I shine. I'm not one of those guys that can shine without my compadres shining.
I get it, man.
I get it.
Get it.
There's certain drummers that have been able to turn that off and just kind of go crazy no matter what's going on around them, even if it's like some completely boring or pedantic, heard this 9,000 times, but the drummer's ripping. But to me, I'm not excited about that music. A lot of my favorite music drummers kind of suck, in a weird way.
I know what you mean.
In a weird way.
I know what you mean.
I listen to all these Eagles music. I know every lyric to every Eagles song, and it's not like Don Henley's Steve Gadd. He's got a thing.
He's got a thing, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't look at Don Henley as he's been a huge influence in my life as a drummer. The music has, the lyric has, the stories have, the whole concept of that music I understand.
Yes.
And I love it.
Yes.
But, let's face it, when you're a a young kid who's got a little bit of technique, you're listening to the Cats, you know, you're
Right.
checking out Elvin, you're checking out Jack and Tony and all these guys.
Right.
Even though I've always loved commercial music or vocal music per se, I've always loved that. I've never been one of those kids that hated that music.
I totally get it.
You know?
Yep.
But I never looked at a lot of those drummers as influences till later on in my life. You know?
Yeah.
Like when I started into the studio business, I started understanding the brilliance of what they brought to the table.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. It took me, it was the other way around. I was a jazzer first and then kind of understood the validity of those guys, you know, of the Ringos, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
You
a
know,
lot
of the Hal
validity.
Blaines and these guys. Yeah. I mean, they're really amazing players in their own right, you know? There are a lot of guys in this town that kind of went unnoticed. Some of them are now dead, but were incredible musicians like that. Johnny Guerin, do you know who he was?
Yeah, Geurin, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Unbelievably great
Yes.
drummer, man. You know, he was one of the first studio pioneers in the early 70s of the scene, you know? Played on a lot of records, man, that you don't know. A lot of theme songs, a lot of stuff in the 70s, man. He's all over TV.
Well, there's a lot of those guys, too, like the Larry Londons.
Yeah, incredible musicians.
There's no video, as far as I know, of Larry London blowing out, like...
No. And it's sad that YouTube has kind of skipped over some of the greatest musicians, you know?
Well...
No, I'm just, you know, Zach and I had a discussion about that not that long ago, about like even the two of us, you know, a lot of the greatest music I made as a young man with Chick and Holsworth.
It's not there.
A lot of it's, you know, some of it people digitized from public broadcasting in Europe or whatever we did, but a lot of that music was never really documented, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's sad because I wish I had a lot of that. You know, all the gigs with George Benson I did for a year and a half. You know, that was one of the funnest gigs I ever played in my life, man. He's unbelievable, man, but there's no document. I didn't record with George, you know. So I never got to be on a record, but, you know, that was a good band, you know, playing with George Benson every night. I can tell you, the guy can play some guitar.
That becomes where it's like theater, you know what I mean? It's like either you were there or you weren't. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not a movie that you can just put on on the DVD player and, you know. And I think that's kind of cool, though.
Yeah,
quite frankly. Like,
I agree.
Either you were at the Spud or you weren't. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Either you're at the Whale that night or you weren't.
You know, it's funny.
I mean, there's phones and everything, but that's like a clip. It's a clip now.
Yeah, it's a clip.
You get a snippet on Instagram.
It's kind of demoralizing in a weird way because I've seen some clips on Instagram or some things on Facebook of some truly prolific playing that kind of gets noticed, but doesn't have the longevity effect. If that makes any sense, it's almost like it's not a record.
Yeah.
You know, so once the link is gone, you'll never hear that again. You know, I remember talking to a couple of these young drummers in London recently. They're in their teens, you know, and they found me through YouTube. They didn't find me through buying records. You know, they were like, wow, I just got hip to you. Like, you know, a friend of mine was...
They hit you up online kind of thing?
Yeah, like I just got hip to you. I never even knew who you were or whatever.
Yeah.
I found you on YouTube. And they don't even think I'm the same guy because I'm like old and bald, you know, in these videos of me with super long hair. I look like Conan the Barbarian and shit. They don't even think I'm the same guy. They can't even... you know, it's like a weird...
Yeah.
You know, the visual reference thing is very strange.
Yeah.
And it just threw me for a loop that some guy actually found me through, you know, like some strange YouTube clip. It's like, well, I played on all those guys' records. You don't have the records. I guess you don't. I guess you don't own any records.
No.
They don't own records, man. It's weird, you know?
Yeah. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. Super bizarre, you know? I'm doing a gig next week with this Brazilian singer named Yvonne Lenz.
In town?
Actually, we're just going around the States.
Okay.
Yvonne's a beautiful singer, great singer-songwriter, Brazilian samba, just incredible. Now, it's funny because he's an older man now, he's in his 70s, but I have all of Yvonne's records. You know what I mean? So learning the music for the gig was like, oh, I actually have the records. Some CDs, but some vinyl, you know? But in order to learn the music, he's just sent me a bunch of YouTube links to, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't need that. I know all your music, but thanks, you know? But it was weird, you know? It's like that's kind of where the medium is. It's YouTube.
But you get hit up with like when you send these kids like for lessons. Do you get?
I do. And if I have time when I'm on the road, I'll do it.
You'll do it.
Unfortunately, this last tour is a little rough. I couldn't really find the free time.
You enjoy it?
Yeah, I actually like teaching. I do. I don't think I'm the greatest teacher because I think a lot of things in music are esoteric in nature.
Yeah.
I can show you all the things I play, no problem. I can write them all down for you. You know? But how do you use it? Where's the magic? You know what I mean? What's that spark that, you know, when you listen to Clyde Stubblefield, he ain't playing nothing we don't know what he's doing.
Right.
You know? Anybody can transcribe that, man.
As a Tony used to say, right? My mailman can play 2 and 4. Right?
Yeah. But I mean,
yeah.
What is it so magic about it? It's esoteric in nature. It's that something you can't teach, and that's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You either got a certain thing or you don't. I think that there's various talent levels, and I think that you can get very proficient. But have you ever met somebody that you just know they got it? You know?
Yeah.
How do you teach somebody that essence?
It goes with all the arts, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I'm not asking you for an answer.
No,
I wish you could give me one.
No. I in fact, you made me think of there's a great line in regards to Marlon Brando, and it was Stella Adler, the acting teacher, and he studied with her, and she said, "Yeah, but sending Marlon to acting school was like sending a tiger to jungle school."
Ah,
see,
right.
That kind of captures what you're saying.
That's very interesting.
He had it.
Yeah, he had it. Yeah.
You didn't really need to.
I mean, look, I don't want to sound like it's coming off like in an arrogant way, because yes, I had a given ability as a kid, but yes, I also had the household that was an incredible advantage. You know, I just grew up
genetics, man.
Well, it's genetics, but it's also I didn't know anything else from around the house. My dad was playing Bill Evans and Train and you know, like all this music that.
And your mom, it's like it's just there.
I didn't know anything different.
Right.
It's like Jimmy Paxson growing up with his dad and his mom.
Sonny
you know
Paxson
what I mean?
yeah, totally.
Like he's got a thing because it was just in the house. It's natural. You don't know how special that is. You're not aware of it. You know?
Until you grow up, and then you're like, oh, all kids didn't get this.
Exactly. And I think that in general, I've run into some students that were very talented players, but lacked an ability to enjoy the music to a degree where it comes across. It seems schooled, and it seems like there's something holding them back spiritually. I'm not a very religious guy.
No, but hits something. I get it.
Yeah, what is it that's missing about this guy's playing? Because
it's the X factor.
Yeah, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that I've figured out a way to reach into somebody's spirit.
Got it.
And whisper that out of them. You know?
Yes.
And that's why I struggle sometimes with teaching, because our instrument is esoteric. It's all about feel, and it's all about support. You know, being a drummer, like the reason why I think that I work is not because I can play a drum solo. It's different things. It's a time feel, maybe the understanding of dynamics and understanding how to support somebody.
Yes.
You know, if I wanted to be in the front, I would have played guitar.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the things in modern concept of what we do in the drums is such this kind of look at me role right now. It's turned into an athletic instrument to a large degree. What's happened in the last 10 years to our instrument, and people have forgotten kind of even how to play time to a large degree, or they get bored with that time. You know, everybody wants to get on their playing, you know, and that's why guys like Gadd or Steve Jordan stick out. There's a young drummer in LA, man. I don't know if you know who this guy is. His name is Lamar Carter. Lamar is really good, man. And he's like the antithesis of what's happening in the instrument. He's like the other way. He's like a young Steve Jordan. He's got good time, good sound. Boy, man, when he's playing, every beat feels like it means something. It doesn't feel like he's waiting, you know what I mean, to like do his thing. Every beat's in there. And when you listen to the greats like that, every beat feels right. That's why we love those James Brown records, man. Every beat is important, you know. I saw James Gatson last Friday at a bar right down the street from my house.
Yeah.
Now, James is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
So, you know, but
yeah,
that guy right there is the definition of intention. You know, everything he plays is just right there. It means something, you know. Whereas if you got a lot of these guys with so much facility and they're playing so much all the time, that it kind of loses its importance. You know, people seem like they're shouting at you like all the time. They're just shouting at you, you know, instead of playing together. And maybe that's a little bit of me being an older fuddy-duddy and coming from a lot of the acoustic jazz background where there's a lot of give and take. But right now, from what it seems like, there's a lot of take and not a lot of give, you know. But the upside to that is there's been a lot of progression in ability on the instrument. People are playing things that I've never heard anybody play before, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, man. There's some guys that got some chopperinos on the drums, man. I look at it, it's like, God, it sounds like it's sped up by 3 speeds, you know?
Yeah.
And at one time, I thought I had fast hands, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
This shit looks like I'm going backwards, you know?
Right.
But that doesn't mean to say I can't make a musical statement, you know? Whereas some of these guys, I don't necessarily hear the statement.
No, you're going back to like YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Like a guy can shred and he can do it, but he couldn't play with James Brown.
No, it's the weirdest thing. And you know, a lot of our industry companies are promoting this behavior, okay? Where it's not only the drums, but I don't like to name names and be mean to people, but I'll tell you what I witness endorsements and people that only play live clinics and they've never been on a gig, if you look at their discography, it's like one record. Like there's no history of any real music, but they can fill up a room full of idiots and do all this crazy stuff. But man, I don't even know. I can't buy a record with you on it if I wanted to, you know. But yet you're the biggest clinician for this company. I mean, there's a couple bass players I know that are like, you know, they have all the amp deals and all this stuff, but they're like driving Uber and shit, you know.
Yeah.
So it's weird that like this social media representation of who you want yourself to be has actually promoted certain people to actually be able to have somewhat of a career as a clinician, but not as a professional musician. I don't know if you've peeped that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you know a lot about it.
1000% what you're talking about.
And it's a strange reality because I don't think that's a healthy environment necessarily.
I don't think so.
You know, because I think in 10 years these people will be all washed up and there'll be no interest in what they have to say anymore. And you have no lineage of what you've done in your life. You have no recorded medium of this music that you've poured your heart and soul into. You know, I didn't get in this business to like, you know, sit in a bunch of people and play a solo with nobody else around me. That's not the motivation I had to become a professional drummer. I love playing music with people.
Yes.
And I don't even know if these guys like it that much. I think, you know what I mean?
They like the...
Am I wrong?
No. You're nailing something. Like it's truth right now. Hashtag truth.
Hashtag truth.
Okay, that's what you're doing. You're laying it down. You're just like... Because that's what you're saying. You're online, they have a presence.
Yeah, there's a big presence.
And it's about like you said, I'm using this drum, I'm using these guys. These sticks, these symbols.
And it's amazing. I look at the view numbers. It's like, wow, man. It's like, you know, 75,000 people saw this. Mm-hmm. And whether it's good or not it's immaterial to the point that we're talking about. It's just strange that there are so many of these guys. And it seems to be running not only the drum industry, but it seems to be running like the bass scene, different instruments. Keyboard players are a hard one because you got to actually be good at it. You can't bullshit being a piano player. But like,
good point.
You know, that scene seems to be a smaller scene of
Jeff Babcock can fucking play.
Yeah. Scott Kinsey, Darren Johnson, these guys are for real.
Yeah.
And you
can't fake that shit. No.
Not really. No. That's an instrument you can't lie on.
It's a good fucking point. Well, again, you're folks. You come from that. Yeah.
You know,
you can't fool you.
Not really.
No.
You know?
But you're right. Like there's drummers who, they'll never get the gig.
No,
but they got choppity chippities up the kazoo.
Yeah, and they play incredible. I'm not trying to say that I don't like what I see.
No,
it's amazing.
Do all of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, wow, dude.
As you said, facility.
Yeah, it's a facility.
But there's no soul. There's no.
Not really, man. It's been lost a little bit. I think and maybe I'm wrong in this, but from what I see, there's a lot of narcissism in some of these people. It's like,
well, they want to be the front man. Back to that.
Yeah, but why play drums? It's like,
Yeah.
You know, it's the wrong instrument to be a frontman. We all love Neil Peart's drum solos in the 80s, you know,
like
in
some
those
guys
moments.
pulled it off. Like there's Keith Moon pulled it off. Like there's guys where you go, hey, you know?
No, it's
no fucking argument.
The Who, man.
I love Tommy Lee, man.
Absolutely.
And
dude, he can play, man.
That's what I'm saying.
He can play.
Like, I don't care what anyone says.
He kind of schooled me, man. I was doing this Rob Zombie record. Not too far from here, from a producer who's kind of out of the business now, but he's a guy named Scott Humphrey. And I used to do tons of records for Scott with Cheney and this guy Phil X. Great guitar player.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of heavier rock.
Yeah.
And Scott used to use me all the time. We used to have so much fun up there, man. But I remember doing Rob's record, Sinister Urge, this is a long time ago. And Tommy played on a few songs, or maybe 2 tunes. And I remember because...
You were there, you mean?
Oh, yeah. It was like a big rock and roll party up at that studio. It was a bitchin' house up in the hills. Beautiful, laid out, man. Every piece of gear you could ever imagine. Yeah. Super Hollywood rock and roll, rock star studio scene. Some of my most fun days in the studio.
Damn right.
It's incredible days. But they were gonna do Tommy's first Methods record.
Oh right, Methods of Mayhem. Yeah.
So I did some 4-drummer thing. Tommy took a liking to me at the time, and we got along pretty well. He's a cool guy, man.
Yeah.
So me and Tommy and Perkins, and I think at the time as a drummer, I'm spacing his name, but he was playing maybe an Orgy at the time.
Okay.
Can't remember his name. Or no, he was the drummer at Godsmack. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. That's out of my wheelhouse, but okay.
Yeah, I can't remember his name at the time, but we did this 4-drummer thing. And, you know, I've been up at Scott's making a million records, so I was always welcome to come by and whatever shenanigans were happening at the end of the day. You know, it was fun days, you know. So, but I used to hang out with Tommy a lot up there, and I saw him play on something that Mixmaster Mike was in there spinning, and Tommy was playing drums. And I was just a fly on a wall, you know, pouring cocktails for the guys, you know.
Sure.
And he freaked me out because he did not sound like Tommy Lee. It sounded like some street hip-hop, like wicked funky drum beats, man. I was like, that's Tommy Lee? Because he's downstairs in the 3-car garage that was converted into this kind of /goth art gallery.
Just hearing it and you're like,
who is
the
speakers, man. Yeah, I walked into the studio like figuring I'm gonna, you know, have some fun here tonight. We're gonna barbecue.
Yeah.
Like, what are they doing tonight? It was Tommy was down there, man, ripping, man. It kind of freaked me out. You know, because I'd seen Motley Crue a couple times.
You thought
live.
you knew, exactly.
I thought I knew.
Yeah.
And he was a different guy, man. Like, sounded super strong, playing with beats and man.
Yeah.
You know, subsequently.
And has that front man thing.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I mean? He's a showman. He's
a nice man.
Of course.
He's a very nice man. I played golf with him a few times up at Malibu before they closed, when we had his place up there, which is really close to the golf course. And I played golf with him a few times up there and had big old parties back at his house back in the day.
A blast, yeah.
Really friendly person, man. Like, you'd be on the golf course and some dude would recognize him and drive his cart over and be like, dude, you're Tommy Lee. He'd be like, yo, bro, give me an autograph. Or he was very friendly to everybody. He was never, from what I saw, he was never rude to any other person. And that goes a long way in my book, man. I have like the percentage factor for rich people. Like, if I knew you before you were super famous and rich, and you've become 25% of a dick, I'll accept the 25%. But when it gets over 25%, then you're just kind of a dick. Yeah. Like Tommy I never saw him even get close to the 25% dick factor ever.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was always really nice, you know. So God bless you, Tommy, wherever you're at.
But that's cool. See, again, though, that's just,
nice guy.
Yeah.
Good people.
I'm sure you've met a lot of heroes that let you down. Right? Yeah. You're like, wish I didn't do that.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me, man? Buddy Rich was so nice to me, and he was such a jerk to one of my friends, so I had a good experience. But my dad used to play with Buddy, so it was nice to me as a kid.
Got it.
Tony Williams was really rude to me when I was like 13. He was like, get out of my face, you little wanker. Whatever. I totally get it. I wasn't even bummed, really.
Tony.
You know what I mean? But he was so mad. It was just probably a shitty day. Art Blakey was really nice to me when I met him. I got a chance to play with my dad and open up for the Jazz Messengers. I actually have a recording of that somewhere. It was my dad, myself, and Larry Gray, and we played a trio gig opening up for the Messengers at the Chicago Jazz Festival. And Art Blakey sat right in front of me, and I was like 16 or 17 years old, and he sat and watched me play the whole set, and I was nervous like you could never imagine. But he was such a nice man. Really supportive, you know. They don't make them like that anymore, man.
Probably not.
You know, yeah, he was a nice man. Jimmy Cobb is another one of those jazz
Jimmy
legends
Cobb, yeah.
who's a really nice
Yeah.
man. He's just, he's the last living member of Kind of Blue,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just...
Like the Roy Haynes
Roy's
thing.
a great guy.
Yeah.
He's another one I had to play in front of, like my first time playing the Blue Note with Chicks acoustic band with Bob Berg and Wallace Roney and Patitucci. I remember it was like everybody came out to that gig, man. I was so scared, man. I'll never forget how scared. I was shaking before those sets, because everybody was there. Mike Brecker's in the audience, Roy Haynes, Adam Nussbaum, Schofield came down, all these cats, and who's this kid playing with Chicks band? I was scared shitless. When Zach showed up, I was happy. At least somebody's not going to care if I suck tonight, But Roy was very kind, and I know a lot of guys that have come and gone through Roy's quartet over the years. The great Dave Kokoski, great piano player, very dear friend, and Ed Howard. We were Bob Berg's quartet for a long time, and that was also Roy's rhythm section for many, many years. Ralph Moore played in that band, great saxophone player. A lot of good players came out of Roy's band. Lots of great players. He still sounds incredible, and he's 94. Roy's up there. He's getting a little.
I
fadey.
saw him play like I don't know, like 8 years ago, and at the end he comes out. He was tap dancing.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. It's incredible, right?
Fuck.
He's a nice man. His nephew plays good, man. Marcus Gilmore.
Oh yeah.
He plays real good. He's been playing with Chicks.
Forgot he was the nephew.
Yeah, he plays real good. Super interesting player. Got his own sound. Really creative. And his uncle's pretty good. Great uncle, I guess. No, he's his uncle. Yeah, old uncle, I guess. Nephew. Great. Maybe it's a great nephew, but I know that's like sister's children's side.
Lineage.
Yeah, man. He's a nice man too. Roy's a cool guy.
But you met a lot of guys. I mean, did your dad work with Sinatra? Did you meet him?
Sure. Yeah.
And?
Yeah, he was real nice to me. My dad only did that gig a little bit, man. My dad was smart. Every one of my dad's friends, great piano players, that did that gig and stayed on that gig, all died by 70. Every single one of them, man. He was real hard on his guys.
Stress.
Yeah. My dad did a handful of things for Frank, like conducting, contracting orchestras, playing a little bit of piano. This was in the 70s. But my dad, he was smart. He saw it, man. There was a bunch of guys, like George Gaffney was one guy I can bring up offhand, who was a wonderful piano player, played with them for a very long time. Died very young. Same with Ralph Sharon, was another great piano player, Los Angeles guy that died real young, Frank was hard to work for, man. Notoriously hard to work for.
Yeah.
So my dad, I think he, now that I look back on it, I was probably 10 at the time when he probably did one of his later gigs with Frank. Not really feeling it.
Yeah.
It was, my mom had, not to get too much into the family history, but my mom was sick from the time I was born until the day she died, on and off, through cancers and stuff. So my dad would selectively take gigs when he traveled that with people he got along with that aren't going to make his life any worse than it already is.
I get it.
Tony Bennett was a lot to handle, but he's a very nice man. Peggy Lee was
how you doing, Gary?
He's a good guy, nice guy.
Yeah.
But it's Frank I would say would probably be one of the scariest guys to work for.
Yeah.
But one of my all-time favorite musicians. I mean, the records that Irv Kotler played on. We talk about a great drummer, man. Man, there's a great clip. I'll try to find it on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, I should send you with Sonny Payne playing. I think it's maybe it's Pennies from Heaven on the Dick Cavett show.
Sonny Payne
playing with a Basie band with Sinatra. Wow, incredible! Like some of the best big band jazz drumming companies. Yeah, it's incredible, man. It's the original backbeat. He's the guy that really started the shout choruses, hitting the snare drum and the cymbals on 2 and 4 and the whole thing. And he kind of
frontman.
Yeah, he's just one of the baddest dudes that ever lived. Sonny Payne, right there, man. The original R&B drummer. He's the original groove drummer. People were dancing to Sonny Payne, for sure. All those early Basie records, forget about it. To me, this is the swingingest guy that ever played in that band.
It's a good, interesting. Yeah. You're right. I mean, it's like an Earl Palmer. It's like that name. People don't really pull out much.
Yeah, you go back and you listen to it, it's like, God damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's incredible, man. It's unbelievable. I'll find that thing. I'll send you the link. Because it's like an hour-long show, if I remember correctly, so you got to go into it and find the...
Sure.
You know, I don't remember who the guests are. It's probably like some chick from Batman or Julie Newmars or some shit from the 70s. You know?
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one of those kind of TV shows.
Totally.
But anyway, Sonny, man, is a super huge early influence.
Yeah, I bet, man. But again, that you just had it. You grew up with it. It was around.
Very fortunate, man. I'm not gonna front. You know, when you don't know anything different, it's very natural, and that's what you think is normal.
But I see where you got it from. You can just describe your dad the way he was. It's like
it's true man's man. Old school,
but
man.
you got it.
Yeah,
it rubbed off, man. The apple did not fall
I am
far.
nearly the man that my dad is.
No. But
man.
that edge, like you said, when you
There's an edge.
to stand up to things and to speak out, it's like that.
I'll tell you what, though, man. Combat will turn you into a man faster than anything. My dad was, didn't see much active duty because he was smart. He learned how to play trombone and got in the 5th Army Band, so he didn't have to be on the front lines of Korea. But, he learned how to play trombone in a fucking hurry. And same with Bill Evans, the famous Bill Evans, who's a really good friend of my father's, learned how to play flute. And they joined the 5th Army Band, and that's how they got out of seeing active duty. But my dad actually did see active duty for the first 4 months he was over there. And he was like, I got to figure out a way out of this. Yeah. Serious. Real serious. It's I can't even imagine, but that's probably part of the reason I can't get him to move out with me. Can't tell a guy that's been to active combat to do anything. Not going to listen to you.
Right. I mean, what's worse than... Right. He's seen the worst.
Yeah.
What are you going to
tell me, kiddo?
You scare me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys, I think, who else was Curtis Prince, great Chicago drummer, was in the service at the same time. I think Maurice Jennings. They were all in Fort Sheridan. Maurice Jennings was the guy who played on all the Curtis Mayfield stuff. Okay. And oddly enough, one of the first guys I ever took a lesson with was really? Maurice Jennings. Yeah. He used to play with my dad's trio a lot. Great guy, great drummer. He's been dead a long time, But funky drummer, boy. Great jazz drummer, man. Great jazz drummer. Sounded like, super like that blue note kind of ride cymbal thing he had,
Mm-hmm.
But his big claim to fame is Pusher Man, Go figure, right? Freddie's dead and all that stuff. That's all Maurice Jennings. Yeah. It's amazing.
That goes back to like what's under the hood, right? Like those guys, you think it's just that, but no.
Yeah, James Gadsden moved to L.A. to be a jazz drummer.
Yeah, and he was a singer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's another thing about James Gadsden. No one asks. He always says that people should ask me to sing. Like that's what.
And not to sidetrack too much, but I'm very interested in talking to the Drum Channel about doing a James Gadsden series that I'd like to host. I don't think people know his lineage as much as they should, because he is one of the most recorded drummers. Mm-hmm. People always talk about Hal Blaine. They always talk about Jim Keltner. Mm-hmm. They talk about Gad, and nothing away from any of those geniuses. But James Gadsden is every bit as recorded as any of those guys.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, he's probably one of the most sampled drummers of all time. For all the hip hop guys. I mean, you get a hold of James, man, you're gonna have a gold record right there.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to.
Didn't Prince hook him up with
I believe so.
Right? I want to say.
Yeah, I believe
interviewed
so.
him, and I just can't remember.
You did?
Yeah.
You did a James interview?
Oh, absolutely. I went to his house. You ever been there?
Awesome. Yeah.
That's a
yeah.
trip.
Yeah.
That's a fucking
He
trip.
never left the hood, man. He's in the same house, man.
I was going to say, you pull up and everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing here? But you pull up in front of Mr. Gadsden's house and they're like, well...
Oh, yeah, you're all good,
You
man.
must be okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? But you know what I'm talking about.
He's the greatest, man. He's one of the nicest people in the city.
But you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here, but it's...
I've been there enough now.
Your
It's
car
all
is
right.
safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's all good.
James, man, I can't say enough about him as a man.
He's a beautiful man. He is. He's a great guy.
As an influence, as a mentor for the younger guys in the city.
Mm-hmm.
You need more men like that,
They don't make them.
They don't make them like that, and he's had his health issues. He's doing all right.
How old is he now?
James got to be 75.
Yeah, okay.
76? Right?
Yeah,
He's got to be, yeah. He's been doing it for forever, man, but I got to tell you, man, that he was one of those guys when I met, like you talk about meeting heroes, right? And we brought up Tony, he was real aggressive, and it's not very nice. When I met James, I was playing with George Benson, when I met James Gadsden in Tokyo. This is in the early 90s. I remember, like sitting on the drums, and it's at the Blue Note. It's not a huge club, but you can kind of see everybody in there. It's all silhouettes or whatever. I could see some dude at the bar hanging out with these two gorgeous girls and some other like American baseball player that was over there playing for one of the Japanese leagues, I was like, I wonder who that guy is. He looks important, So I just kind of moseyed up to the bar after the first show, and he kind of like, I walked by him and I didn't recognize who he was, but he grabbed my shirt, He's like, hey kid, come back here, man, He's like, man, you sound pretty good, man. He's like, man, you're playing some new shit, you gotta show me some of that. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I'm James Gatson. I almost like had a heart attack, man, because he was like, the LA staple mate. And when I moved to town, everybody that I met was like, you got to get with James. That's the guy you got to meet. That's the guy you got to go see. You got to go watch him play. And he's the guy, So it was an interesting moment when I met him, and he's never been any different ever since the first time I met him, man. Like, he still treats me like that kid who he's supporting and trying to, just give all the encouragement. He's never changed, man.
Yeah, he's humble, man.
Yeah, he's an awesome human being, man. I wish everybody was like that. Not everybody, when I moved to town, not everybody was so nice to me. James was. Some other drummers, not so much,
Like guys we know.
Yeah, some of those guys are really weird, but, hey, man, you can't win them all.
No, no. But James is still with that, like, white pearl kit, right? Like,
he's got that single-headed fiberglass,
Yeah.
He played a DW kit that sounded really good the other night. He had some newer drums that they gave him.
But in that home studio.
It's the fiberglass pearls.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a friend of mine...
He goes like, sit down, play. And I was like, exactly.
It's incredible.
Like,
when he asked me to sit in, if I go to see him play, James is getting up there, so a lot of times second set, he'll have guys come up and sit in, But every time I get up on his drums, man, I get so nervous.
He said, sit down. And I was like, it was almost like, I don't want to.
I don't want to touch these heads.
He's like, no, do it. And then I was like, and I started, and he goes, oh, you're trying to sound like me. And it was almost like, you can't not. In a way, you're sitting on his drums.
I'm just nervous I'm going to break a head or something, because he doesn't, all that stuff is old. He doesn't change it. It's all his touch that makes that sound.
Yeah.
And can be heavy-handed sometimes. I don't want to go through something for him, so I'm always like being real polite, trying to barely touch him.
Stripes all beaten up and shit.
Sounds so good, man. He's so happy. And as a matter of fact, it's really funny. A friend of mine who's a great young bass player in town, it was Larry Carlton's kid, Travis Carlton.
Yeah.
Travis just found a pearl fiberglass single-headed kit from the 70s off Craigslist, and he's got that set up at a studio over there in North Hollywood. Damn, that shit sounds so good, man. It's unbelievable how good that drum set sounds for that thing. We got some thick old pinstripes on there, a bunch of 421s. Boy, wow, does that drum set sound good.
That's all you need.
I forgot about how good. Blair actually, Cinta has a Vista-like kit that I've sat in on a couple of these like little singer-songwriter gigs. Go and hang out and have a beer. And Blair's a friend. And I'll come up and I'll sit in on a couple tunes. But he brings this Ludwig Vista-Lite yellow single-headed concert tom kick. There's no lugs on the backside of those drums anywhere. Kick drum too. Unbelievable sound, man. It's so satisfying to hit those drums.
Yeah, Blair's got some great kits.
Yeah, he's got a lot of. He's a drum dork. I like that.
Totally.
I'm a drum dork too. I'm a little bit more conventional. I like a lot of the old round badge kits. And,
sure.
I kind of like the bebopper stuff. And if I need to tune them for that style, I'll do it. But I got a lot of kits with calfskin heads on them and stuff. Old school.
Damn.
It's a pain in the ass, but they sound good when the weather's right,
Yeah, exactly.
If it's humid, you're really in trouble. If you're down by the beach, you can't take that kit. But
no.
And it's hard to get guys to tuck heads. I know a couple guys. Stan knows somebody that can hook me up. He actually can do it. Stan and Gian, they can do it. But it's definitely not easy and it's not cheap.
Some of these guys get the anthrax or something. Right? You hear those stories? Once in a while, I've talked about that. The guys come out. It's in the news. I'd be like,
yes,
they fucking die.
Yeah. Especially if you're like in, certain places that are not in America, with different standards, It's kind of scary sometimes, like djembe heads or some kind of...
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you can get sick from some of that shit.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's really scary,
he was just playing drums, you know what I mean?
Got anthrax. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess music can be really dangerous, man.
I'll kill you, man.
Hilarious.
Well, shit, man. Thank you for doing this, man.
Absolutely. I hope it's something that people will listen to. You know, I'm not the most interesting guy in the world, man, but you know, I'd love to do it again. You know, if you catch me on the right days. You know, it's.
I think I caught you on the right day.
I just, you know, you have a very interesting approach to this. It is very human, and that's what I love about this. You know, Kinsey and I would like to start our own podcast.
You should.
You know, but
I encourage you.
Not necessarily always about music, just about musicians, about our lives, about our funny stories. And
that's why I love when Reggie Hamilton, I was like talking about archery.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, hey man, you're into like cars.
Dude, he's fucking William Tell. Trust me. That guy can like nail bullseyes at 90 meters. It's crazy. Yeah. He's not kidding.
Yeah.
You know, when the apocalypse happens, he's on my team.
You ain't fucking
You know, because he'll be, you know, we can hunt with Reggie, you know.
You ain't fucking kidding. We'll run out of bullets, but
he's a smart.
Reggie.
Reggie's smart, man.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, very educated man.
Yes, he is. I caught that very quickly.
Great player, too.
Great player.
Great player, man.
Solid as they come, and just a great story, man. The Atlantic City years.
Oh, man. Jimmy Pax's dad, man.
He played with all the Paxes.
Yeah.
I know.
You know?
I just love that he cut his teeth there.
Absolutely.
Who else has that fucking story?
No, it's incredible. You know what's funny about Reggie? Let's talk about bass players for a second. Reggie does a lot of things really well, but you know what he's really good at is rock and roll. Playing with a pick, like Entwistle or a JPJ, like that kind of man. His rock is gnarly, broken up, distorted bass sound, never overplaying, huge quarter notes. He can play some rock and roll, man, and it's funny because people always look at him as some virtuosic, you know, plays acoustic Arco films, you know, plays jazz, plays all this slap shit.
Sure.
My favorite stuff to play with Reggie is rock and roll. Like, and I play with every style of music of Reggie Hamilton.
Yeah.
But man, he can rock, dude.
Well, he sings your praises.
He's a good friend.
I can tell
man.
you that, like off the record.
And he hated me so much the first time I ever played with Reggie. This is an awesome story, man. We were playing it down at the Birdland West. This is my last little anecdote before you.
Please.
So we're playing at Birdland West with like Billy Childs, Walt Fowler, Brandon Fields, and Reggie was playing acoustic bass. And I just moved to LA, and like it was kind of fusion music, some swing, but like a lot of Billy's earlier stuff with like Mount Olympus and all this kind of crazy fusion. And like we were playing, and PA was loud. I'm all going for it, and Reggie's playing acoustic bass. And I was just standing on these Yamaha drums playing too loud, and I couldn't tell because it was a little falsified because of the stage, you know. And he looked at me, man, like he wanted to strangle me, man. And he just pulled me aside and read me the riot act.
Really?
It was an incredible moment, man. Just like, kid, what are you doing? He's like, I'm up there playing this acoustic bass, man. You got all these cymbals going, you're playing. He's like, don't get me wrong. You got something going on, kid. I'm not saying you can't play, but he's like, you got to give me a break, man. And he was like, otherwise, I'm just going to kill you tonight. You know, and he grabbed me real hard. Reggie's strong, man. I wouldn't exactly want to fight with Reggie. He grabbed my wrist. You know, I ain't exactly a humble church kid. I've been in my few scraps in my life. Yeah. And it was like, ooh, this guy can break me in half right now. And I was just like, oh, yes, sir. You know? And ever since then, man, we've been super tight, man. Reggie's a great guy.
He loves you, man. He made that clear. He's
a very dear friend, but man, he was really pissed at me, man. That's like 1988.
Sometimes those are the best beginnings for some reason.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like sometimes it's like people meet and they're like, I hated him when I first met him.
And he couldn't stand me.
And then it's like they're like just brothers.
Yeah,
you know? But like at first,
me, man.
I love that. That's one of those.
I've had a few of those moments with certain people, but with Reggie it was really funny because he was like super old school, like my dad or like, you know, Jimmy's dad. He ain't gonna front nothing. He's gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna solve this right now. You know what I mean? And you're gonna listen to me, kiddo. You know, and he was kind of scary. You know, Reggie's not that much older than me, but at the time, you know, I was probably 18 and Reggie was maybe 23, 24, just coming in on the scene. He was the hot new guy, you know, and he was like, look, man, you know, you got to deal with this now, you know, and otherwise, you know, I'm just going to kill you.
Yeah, I love it.
And he said, like, I'm going to kill you.
See, I was back. You don't get that much in this field.
Everybody's so nice to each other. They talk behind your back. They don't have enough balls to tell you to your face, you know. And that's something that's worse and worse in the cancer of this town, you know. And I'm not an LA hater. I'll be the first one to admit I love California. Yep. I love this city.
I know what you
mean. I love Los Angeles, but there's some
yes.
jive-ass people here, and it's just the way it is. You know, I've had people. I remember this. Another funny one. There's a programmer that's kind of a well-to-do EDM guy now, and back in the day we used to do a lot of sessions for Rob Cavallo, and he was like a programmer / Pro Tools guy. And I remember I had this Mustang that I still got, actually. It's a 65, and I had just taken all the paint off of it, kind of looked like a Blade Runner mobile, and I just dropped like a 650 horsepower motor in it. You know, serious Mad Max death machine, awesome car, but it looked like shit. You know, and I remember walking in the studio at Ocean Way and hearing this guy go, man, that's what Gary's driving, man? I thought he was doing way better than that, man. He was like judging me on the car I showed up to the gig in. Yeah. And I was just like, well, you know, he doesn't know I just spent 18 grand on that motor that I just put in there, but you know, but still the judgment was made that it wasn't something he thought.
Plus you heard it was behind your back.
Yeah, and they were like, man, he must not be doing good, or he's got some drug problem or something. I'm like, dude, relax, you know? It was weird. So that was an eye-opener of the Los Angeles rock and roll record scene. Of like, really? I got to worry about what car I drive to the damn gig? Are you kidding me?
He's got a drug problem.
Yeah, or something, you know what I mean? Like he was saying, like maybe it's something, or maybe he's like irresponsible, or, you know, why wouldn't he have like a Mercedes or something, that kind of thing. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? Meanwhile, this guy's got a sweater, literally a sweater wrapped around his izod in a half knot, like, you know, some preppy
chip.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I could make my judgment, but am I? No. Push the space bar, kiddo. Let's record, you know? Anyway. So the things, I've seen some weird shit. You know, don't mean to be too negative. But,
no. That's not negative. That's just being.
But there are some real weirdos out here that listen with their eyes. And, you know.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of that. You know, I know a lot of very, very, very talented.
It's clicky.
Very clicky.
And it's very claws.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And especially these days, man, guys are, you know, it's like you're on the Serengeti with a carcass of an antelope, and there's like 6 hyenas trying to get the last piece of meat, and we're all, you know.
But do you think it's not so always the guys who are the real working cats? I mean, I know sometimes it is. I don't mean to say, but it's usually not.
Usually not. No, it's usually not.
The really bitter guys are the guys they're not getting called.
Yeah, and it's sad because there used to be a time in this business where there's A-level work, B-level work, C-level work, and D-level work. You had the motion pictures, and then you had the A-list recording guys that wouldn't do the movies, and then you had all the movie guys that had their scene, and then there was like the TV crowd, and then there was the episodal TV crowd.
Yeah.
You know, there are all these rhythm sections that worked in different tiers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, you know, back in the day, you wouldn't really get Jeff Porcaro on an average motion picture date because the motion picture scale is less than a record scale. So he had always the priority of being in the studio making his double scale all day on a record scale. Why would he take less money to do this movie? Because he had plenty of work in this scene. So it created this hierarchy of the studio ladder that you climbed. Now it's like we all take anything that we can get. It doesn't matter whether it's motion picture, whether it's a record date, whether it's TV, whether it's some Netflix buyout.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've done a lot of HBO episodal series that, you know, it's not great money, but every week I get a guaranteed, 8-hour day out of it, But it's fun. I did Californication for 6 seasons, and that was really fun because I got to meet the director, and he became a friend, Tom Campanos, and what's his name?
So that's you all over California.
There's only 2 seasons I didn't do, and I think that was Vic did it when I wasn't there. So there's always like some part of the family was in there. You know what I mean?
Totally.
They're nice guys. Tom Campanos, super cool. David Coveney, super nice guy. Big music fan.
Yeah, that's right. He is a good, right? He's got a thing going.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy too.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
That was kind of a fun thing to do, and I often enjoy trying to help out a scene. When you're actually involved and a composer likes you and you all have this rapport, that can be kind of satisfying sometimes in a different way, in a cinematic way. Sometimes those can be very fun dates.
Yes.
I imagine it must have been really cool to do the orchestra, the Team America. That must have been the absolute funnest orchestral date in the world. I have a friend of mine that did it, and they had to turn the video off because people were losing it. They couldn't handle laughing and playing all that hard music. They did that at Eastwood Stage, and a friend of mine was, playing in the string section. It was one of the funniest things he's ever experienced.
Wow, man.
So you never know what you're getting into when you show up,
No,
and that
man.
must have been one of those days, you know. Awesome.
You gotta write that book, man. And I encourage you to do that podcast. As you mentioned.
Yeah, give me some little pointers. I'll talk to you about it.
Oh,
you know?
anytime, man. I'm
Yeah.
sure the listeners will hit you up after this and say, do it.
You know, and anytime if you'd like to do like a group one, if you want me to grab some fellas, that could be kind of fun too.
Let's do that.
You know, absolutely.
Let's do
I'm not
that.
gone that much this summer. I have like a little bit with Yvonne Lenz, a little bit of session work in July, but I'll be in town. You know, like I've already just a couple little projects I got to help contract, but I'm home for the most part.
No, let's do that,
Yeah,
man. That's
that'd
a
be
good
fun.
idea.
Yeah.
I like that
Get some
idea.
cats up here. You know?
Fuck yeah, man.
I should maybe
Get the grill going. We'll just...
Oh, yeah. I'm deadly with the grill, bro.
Get some flowing, and we'll
Yeah.
just let it...
We
Yeah.
can talk recipes a little bit. I'm good with the grill, man. Boy meets grill.
I like this. I like this, man. This is getting good now.
Absolutely. We could do one on the boat, too. We could go out the sailboat. We could do a podcast out there.
You got the boat?
I have a friend, actually, yes, technically,
Okay.
yes. I'm a partner in a sailboat.
Oh, I like this.
I sold my Yamaha Phoenix kit because I was so mad at Yamaha to one of my good friends that lives out in Palm Springs. I sold it to him. It was a massive kit for like half price.
Good.
Okay. And within that deal, I get partnership into his Catalina 36. So it was a good deal for me. Now we're talking about maybe dumping that boat because he's seen a couple from the same price range that we only going to have to maybe throw in $1,000 a piece. So if we upgrade, we get the same length, but a little bit newer, a little bit hipper rigging, you know, a little bit better galley. So if you want to have people and go out to Catalina and actually cook for...
So you're a boat guy, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We missed all... See, we got more to cover now.
Sailing, dude, is a big thing, you know. I love to sail. It's, you know, you can lose the motor and the boat still works. I can't tell you how many times I got friends with big, expensive motorboats. You get 20 miles out to sea, you're fishing, the engine doesn't start, and you're dead in the water. Sailboat doesn't really happen.
You're fishing in a boat guy. I get it now. You go out with Jimmy Paxton, right? And you fish?
Yeah, Jimmy, man, he's awesome, dude.
I know.
Awesome drummer, awesome human being, man. He's a good dude.
Yes,
but
he is.
fishing off the sailboat's kind of a pain in the ass because you got the stays and the lines and the whole thing. And we can do it.
Yeah.
But if you're fishing big game, you're in trouble.
You're better off just sailing.
Yeah, you're gonna break a toe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
I like that.
You're gonna step on something, you're gonna break a toe. You know.
Fair enough.
Because you know how it is. You're always chasing around the stern. You know, when you got something that's got a lot of muscle, a marlin or a tuna or anything like that, man. You know, it's no. You can catch sea bass off a sailboat. You know, that's about it.
I fucking love it, man. This is great.
Anytime, man.
Thank you, sir. This is a blast. Yeah, we'll do it. We're gonna do that.
Yeah.
I like this idea.
Please, dude. I got some bros you might want to have some laughs with. You know?
I leave the casting to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
You cast it.
Picture Larry David, Richard Lewis.
This is what I'm trying
Chris
to say.
Rock. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Mix it all in
you
there.
cast it. You figure out who and we'll just do it.
I would love to.
We'll roll tape and
super pleasure, man.
Yeah, man. It'd be fucking great. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure. It was a super fun day. I hope it was okay, man. I'm not like the best interviewer, but
Peace and love. Peace and love.
It happens. I would love to. Hey, look out.
Stop eating them damn onion rings.
I did that. What? Do it.
Nice.